Oh, and so, of course, nobody can see them yet, but we have two of our guests that are in. And so while we're sitting here, just hit the live button. Let me just say that uh, video looks fine for the guest, and hopefully we'll hear your audio here in a little while, but we'll find out. So,
Yeah, nothing like surprises, right?
yeah, hey, it's a live show. We always tout that we are amateurs, just giving our opinions and as best we see it and presenting information and facts and some innuendo from time to time. But, you know,
But
we're not.
you wait a minute. No, lies and innuendo.
Oh, lies and innuendo. I forgot the lies and innuendo with it. Yeah. Thanks for
Yeah,
reminding me.
yeah, lies and innuendo. But hey, it seems like there is a lot of innuendo floating around Bossier, in which, that's our namesake, Bossier Watch. We watch everything that goes on in Bossier and we're talking about it. But it seems like there is a lot of innuendo going on around Bossier.
It's like nonstop. I mean, nonstop. And some of it's not even innuendo. Some of it's, pretty much direct.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt. So I'll just thank you up front for the work you've done on putting notes together and all that. It's kind of like the roles are reversed. No, the roles hadn't reversed. It's just you're doing everything.
Well, from the technical side, and I'm trying to put some notes together, which will explain why the notes are so haphazard and may not even make any sense and help us during the live show. Because, look, I'll put it this way. I am so glad. Notice I have the camera angle that doesn't show my desk or anything here because it is a complete disaster on my desk. I mean, I've got stuff thrown everywhere. Complete
Well,
disorganization.
we've done this long enough that we can throw the information that comes rolling through, into what seems like an organized state, but in reality, it's really not organized. It's controlled chaos, you might say.
Controlled chaos is a good term for it. Okay, we've got about 30 people watching, maybe even a few from Twitter because I can't actually see the Twitter feed. So folks are starting to come in. There's Colonel Crockett says he's here, and of course Michael and Julie Farris are here. Val Baker's watching. Mary T. Hello to everybody. And yes, Mary, we are going to talk about SWEPCO briefly. Obviously, neither Duke or I are really qualified to offer any solutions, but we do want to kind of bring up the subject for a few minutes and, maybe give our 2 cents into the deal for what it's worth. And by the way, I think my electric bill the draft goes through in the next day or two, speaking of 2 cents. But
Yeah, and like you said, Rex, we've also got a police jury candidate that's going to come on the show, and
yes.
he's also a social media professional.
Yes, he is. He actually might be a true professional. I think he's got like a little studio set up and all that. I got like lights in the desk and a webcam.
I got a green screen.
Yeah, you got a green screen and you have a cool fall overlay in the back. Unless
Hey,
that's the leaves on fire from the heat.
yeah, it probably is because I'm going to tell you, it's been smoking the last 2 days. But hey, in addition to that, Bossier City and term limits. Who all watched the video today of the? I don't know. Is rats trying to jump off of a ship? Is that
Well,
an adequate description?
we've kind of called them weasels on the Facebook page, but I, rats may be a little more accurate, but they're not jumping off the ship. They're clinging to the ship. The rats are literally clinging to the ship by their little ratty like claws.
Do they have claws or do they have like little, I don't know, little fingers or whatever? I don't
Oh,
know.
little middle fingers that they're shoving to all their constituents, but that's a whole other deal. We'll talk about that soon. All
All
right,
right.
let's do the countdown. There's about 35, 40 people watching, maybe more. So y'all know the drill, folks. I'm going to go ahead and do the whole countdown, the intro. That's 3.5 more or 4 minutes. That gives you time to go get some popcorn, tag, text some friends, share this out, all that kind of good stuff. We have city weasels or rats and term limits to talk about. Two guests, Keith Sutton and Julie, and also Michael Farris. We're going to talk about SWEPCO and well, there was a mention of malfeasance in office, and we'll talk about that as well for just a
That's
minute or two.
right. This is going to be an informative show. Your part is to share the show so that folks that aren't watching will know to watch so that they will be informed.
Form.
That's how we make a better Bossier.
Exactly. All right, here we go. Countdown begins. This Bossier Watch live broadcast is brought to you by David B. Womack for all your contracting and construction needs. The Outdoor News, fishing and outdoors for our area. Acadiana Mortgage, over 23 years in the mortgage business. Pelican Training and Consulting is an IWTP customized training provider with over 25 years of success to show for it. Call them for a free consultation today. Pelican Training and Consulting matches employers with 50-plus employees with training dollars. Smarter Geek, making technology easier. And the many supporters, donations, and folks sharing information and watching out for Bossier. Now, grab your popcorn and a drink. Here we go. All right, so we are back. We made it through another countdown. What are we on? Show 161 now? That's a lot of show. A lot of hours.
It's a lot of shows, and we're still amateurs. We're not improving.
Not improving at all, apparently. I don't know. Okay, so speaking. Oh, go ahead.
Well, no. I didn't mean. I was just thinking about. I was disrespectful to everybody watching. No, that wasn't what I was meaning. I was talking about you and I. We're not improving. The folks watching are improving, but we're not improving.
Well, that's true. All right. So while you're talking and ad-libbing, I've got to do a little adjusting here because we have some guests to bring in, and
right,
like a bad tech guy, I didn't get everything completely prepared. So bear with me for just a second.
Well, it's quite all right. And hey, I wanted to jump through the list of names of folks that have signed in and are live watching the show. I mean, I see Renee Hall. She made a post and she says, just got word that HB 648, Protecting Our Kids, had an override against the governor in the House and Senate. So HB 648, the governor vetoed it. They have a veto session. the House voted to override the veto, and the Senate voted to override the veto. So there you go. Finally, we've got a
Finally.
legislature that's, stepping up to the plate and handling business,
Yeah,
kudos.
that's the first veto override I've heard of in quite a while, but maybe I hadn't been paying attention enough. So,
Yeah, I don't know. Julie Farris obviously is watching the show, especially since she's going to be in here in the show just a minute to talk about some positive things that have been going on here in the community locally. And I
well,
see,
through the magic of clicking buttons, let's see if I can actually make this happen. Hey, all right. Now, all right, so I'm showing that y'all are muted. See if you can bring your audio up. We heard y'all a minute ago.
and while they're working on that, I'll go ahead and say, hey, welcome, Val Baker, David
All
Crockett.
right,
You already mentioned.
so I'm going to kick y'all out, come back in with the same exact link, and it should grab your audio. All right, so I'm going to boot you out, come right back in. All right, technical difficulties, but it happens sometimes. It's live. This is not pre recorded.
Hey, it looks like somebody from the Cheatham clan is watching live. Mary Cheatham, welcome.
Yeah, okay. Do we have audio, Farris's?
Can you hear me now?
We can hear you now, loud and clear. It's a glitch in the software. It does that every now and then. So anyway, but we have you back, and we have good, clean audio. So, good evening.
Good evening.
And
Well,
yeah, go ahead, dude.
look. Hey, the other week or so, y'all reached out. Now, first off, I just want to publicly thank y'all for sponsoring the show. I mean, you guys stepped up to the plate, and look, we're not about making money, but you support the activities that we do, which that comes at a cost a little bit because we don't exactly touch issues that make people fans. I'm just wondering why did y'all why have y'all even done that? I'm curious. I just got to know for myself.
No, you give your answer. Well, honestly, my answer is because I don't know how else to get the tea in Bossier. When you want to get involved locally, politically, but you have organizations that host those meetings during business hours, it's very frustrating to try to keep up with everything that's going on. And y'all's show is pretty much one place where we can find out things from a legislative perspective on a state level to local jury and city council. So I enjoy what you're doing. I enjoy now being involved, feeling like I'm getting all the sides of issues and with commentation with the audience where people can chime in if they have different information. I just think it's a well-rounded show.
We're glad to hear that. And, we try to be well rounded, but like we always say, we're amateurs. And look, if somebody's wanting to come here looking for a non biased show, this is not the place to go. We are absolutely full of bias. There's no doubt. So we appreciate y'all helping us. So.
Rabble rousers.
Rabble rousers. Thank you, Weston Marriott.
So, Julie, you reached out the other week and you started telling a little bit of a story about something that is positive going on in Sobo, and I got to tell you, I was kind of impressed with the story, and we said, well, look, we need to get you guys on here, and y'all need to kind of talk about what's happened down there or what's going on, and so I'll just let you shape this whole thing right here. Jump out there.
All right. Well, I started Pelican Training and Consulting in 2012. Farris and I opened the business separately. He had his own fire and safety company, and then that merged together. And especially after COVID, we became one. But since that time, when we had our children in school here through the South Bossier school system, they were in the band. And starting with Christopher, we were very involved in the band and became aware of certain issues that they were dealing with when it came to the heat and their big band summer camp that they have. And then, of course, they're wearing these dress uniforms and heat on the field, and we've actually witnessed one or two people fall out, not maybe from heat stroke, but heat stress. And really decided then, because of the background that we have in safety, was that maybe we can do something to help. So with Farris's help, because he is the licensed instructor, we were able to work with the chaperones and open it to any other parents to provide free CPR, first aid, and AED training to those parents, especially with chaperones where children were going to be bussed off to other facilities and not knowing what kind of accommodations were there from a safety perspective.
And that was about 8 years ago when we started doing that.
8 or 9. So we started doing that, and we have supported teachers throughout those years too, where we adopt a classroom and things like that. Well, last year, I think was our first year that we purchased a banner at the high school field, Parkway High School field, for the booster, and got to talking to them about, well, what do you need? What do you guys need? And so the first need that came back was we could use a taping table because we don't have a way to get a taping table.
What the heck are you talking? What the heck is a taping table? I mean, is this like we're going to mummify somebody?
That's exactly what I said. I'm a band kid. I had no idea what a taping table was.
So a taping table is basically, it's just a basic table where they can, the player of whether it's track and field, lacrosse, whatever it may be, football, where they could sit on the table and be taped up more properly than the coach getting down on the ground at ground level, and it's just, it's awkward. So this was them, just a better way for them to assess an injury, to be able to tape up a player to get them mobile back on the field. So we ended up doing that, and then when the table was delivered, it's kind of like, okay, well, now what can we do? And they came back with a medical tent, and so Farris said, okay, that's great. I'll go to Academy and I'll buy a tent.
They said tent.
So after further research, what they were wanting is a medical tent that a lot like you see on the sidelines at an SEC football game. Mm-hmm. And so because of the price of several $1,000s, obviously we're small business and we can do some, but that was just beyond our scope. So it was just really a brainstorming opportunity for us to say, well, how can we make this happen? And in this time, we had been part of the SOBO luncheon and the Friends of South Bossier group for a while and had been attending meetings. And everybody there is always super positive about South Bossier, and we promote SOBO and this and that. So I said, well, let's go see who's going to put money where their mouth is. And so we started asking around some of the business owners as a sponsor to the tent where they would be able to have their logo. And I want to say in less than 24 hours, we got the money raised that we needed to purchase.
Wow.
The tent.
Wow.
So from there, we have now, going back to first aid, CPR, AED, we are now in a position where we feel like we can offer those classes pro bono to the school board. That was a need that particularly the paraprofessionals, and there's, in my opinion, every teacher every year or every staff member should go through a first aid, CPR, AED class, especially now with children with chronic illnesses and asthma and a myriad of other things.
Also, and this is uncomfortable to say, it's uncomfortable to hear, but because of active shooter case scenarios, natural disasters, maybe it's not one person that's injured, maybe it's several, maybe it's a dozen, and maybe it overwhelms the few people who are first responders and trained in the school system. And we need those extra people to be able to pitch in with some basic skills to take care of our kids who are there until more help can arrive.
So this year we've already done, we did 2 classes?
3.
We've completed 3 classes so far over the summer, where we trained 18 in a class.
We have 2 instructors that are in the class, 18 for the first 2 classes, and I think it was like 18 for the first, so that's 36, 40, we're pushing 50 people so far. And it looks like that the Bossier Parish School Board is really happy with the arrangement. We're providing the service, and it's not costing the school board a dime. All
So
they have to
like you're talking about like 18 educators.
Well, it could be paraprofessionals. What we have told them is the way this started was if you have someone at the school, say a coach, who is required to have these licenses or this certification, and you already have a program for them, well, that's fine. But what about paraprofessionals? What about other teachers, third grade teachers, lunch ladies, administrators, janitors? If you have any other people who are working in the school system, and they would like to get this certification to have some skills that they can use for their families and for the kids while they're on the property, then we will not only donate the class, we'll pay for their card, we will provide all materials. All they have to do is be willing to show up and learn.
A lot of times too, some of the people's feedback we got was that, well, we've already been certified in this. And understand that as technology changes and as medicine changes, so do the techniques of fast repetition and the counts. And so most of the employers we work with in Louisiana require their employees to get certified annually. So this is not one time you learn the skill because I used to be a lifeguard. This is an evolving skill set to make sure that you understand how to resuscitate somebody that is in need of care, and every second counts. One of the other things with the medical tent, and I did send some pictures, it's a 7x14 with a frame, cover, lighting kit. It has the sandbags and AC going to, or a
It has
fan,
fans and
things like that.
Yes, it has a floor, and it sets up very quickly. We were surprised at this equipment and how effective it could be for Parkway athletics. And this was so successful that we are getting ready to walk this to Houghton, and we're going to see if we can't do the exact same thing for Houghton athletics at Houghton High School.
So we're hoping that this spurs a little bit of friendly competition among the other high schools where, I think that, and I didn't go to Parkway, but I've lived here for 30 years now. Parkway sometimes gets the redheaded stepchild syndrome, I think. And I know how that feels. So I hope that it's like, well, if Parkway can do it, then we can do it. And, especially Benton. I mean, so anyway, but I thought it was just a good idea. And I am absolutely thrilled with the response that nobody hesitated. I mean, really and truly, it was how much, so that just leads us to now thinking outside of the box, and then what else can we do? And, my mother was an educator with Bossier for 30 years, and it's not all about football. It's not.
It's about the band.
There's fishing too, by the way.
There's fishing too, but there are just, I think, a lot of opportunities that if a few people just get their heads together, how else can we impact, and how else can the community get involved to impact the school? Because ultimately, education can only do so much by itself.
It's always
community involvement.
It's always in everything that we do. It's always, one or two people. I mean, I'm not saying that one or two people can't make a difference, but one or two people can't do it on their own. It's all about, a community and people and a group of people, multiple people, all stepping up, in a unified effort to make a change. And, what I'm hearing from you guys is that, there was an idea that spawned down there, and people in your community, y'all all collectively stepped up and filled a void where there was a need, in regards to, like at Parkway. And it sounds like it's something that's worthy of being replicated at the other high schools. And I think what you're saying is that, hey, if you want the pattern to success, give you guys a call and you can tell folks how they can do the exact same thing. Is that what I'm hearing?
Absolutely.
Not only that, but we'll get in there and throw elbows with them. We'll knock on doors and we'll contact businesses and get it all lined up. This has worked or been so smooth this first time and so quick that I see no reason why we can't do this again. There are people passionate about Parkway. Of course, we had 3 kids go to Parkway. But we also know that people are passionate about Houghton High School and the Bucks. We also know that people are passionate about the Benton Tigers. Well, that's how it works. And that passion is really just another form. It's another word of love. And it's another, honoring of this is where I went. This is where my family went. And what can I do to help that? Because oftentimes, and you guys have pointed this out on your show, the challenge is I want to help. I just don't know where to go. I don't know what to do. Who do I talk to? How can little old me, make a difference? And over the past 8 years, more and more and more, we have learned that we can pull up our boots. We can do what we're good at. And when we need help, we're going to ask people who are as passionate as we are, and they're willing.
We're not leaving Bossier High out either. We know that they are absolutely part of this group of high schools, and they should be able to have the same privilege as everybody else. And yes, PTAs used to do that, but guess what happened? We don't have any PTAs anymore.
Yeah, there was even a song about the PTA or something, but anyway.
Parents are stretched so thin
You
nowadays.
talking about? Wait a minute, you talking about the Harper Valley PTA?
Harper Valley PTA, wasn't that a song?
I've heard about the Harper Valley PTA.
So let me ask y'all this then. For people that are watching and sharing this out and all that kind of stuff, if they want to get with y'all and figure out how to duplicate this at other high schools or compare notes with you or whatever, or help financially or whatever the case is, what's the best way for them to get a hold of you? Email?
So, let me give you my email. If they will hit me up at Farris@pelicantrain.com, I will reach out to them. I'll come and meet with them if that's what they need.
We'll share the budget and
yes,
the distributor and the supplier and how all that worked, and to be able to see the type of sponsorships we were able to get and what made sense. So,
and how quickly it was able to turn. I mean, this is not a 6-month process. We spent more time trying to figure out what we should do and how we could do it by ourselves than it took us to actually get it done.
Actually ask.
Yeah.
Well, and let me just mention this on the show, not to get too far down the rabbit hole, but there are those things. What's it called? The Beef Fund or whatever. BEEF. Like, where's the beef? The Beef Fund.
Educational excellence. Tobacco.
Yeah. Now, I know that those funds may be limited to be used, but you might check into that, and everybody else can dig into that. So,
yeah, they have over $60 million available for grants. And the last budget that was released, there were more private schools that applied for those funds than public. Which I think is a little discerning to me. I mean, they've allowed it, legislature passed it where private schools were allowed to access it, and they are taking full advantage of it. And I do think that there's opportunity where there could be enhancements, and where we have talked about AEDs specifically for safety in the schools, because one's not enough. You actually have about 90 seconds where you need an AED within 90 seconds, because you have a minute and a half to get that AED and get back to the person to be able to get that.
You got to think about it. If the average death from a heart emergency happens in about 4 minutes, well, how long does it take somebody to run to the other side of a campus, get the equipment, and run back to this side of the campus to be able to provide that aid? The Louisiana governor was supposed to sign in the bill a mandate that required that all Louisiana schools would have an AED on the facility. Now, in Bossier Parish, many of our schools do have them, but some don't. So, this is fixable, and it's fixable with somebody else's money.
Barry,
I saw Barry's question, and
I was fixing to address that too.
But there's also, through the Department of Justice, the COPS Community Oriented Policing Fund, they also have opportunities for safety funds for schools through the form of a grant for whether it's active shooter drills that are paid for through a grant for the officers to supply that training, or other things. So those are just things that we are looking at and researching right now to see if there are other ways to fund it.
Yeah, and I want to throw this in there because that same thing that Barry commented, and we find that comment there. was brought up in the past and some stuff. And I just want to say that you're right, Barry. There are some limitations to those funds, but those limitations can be changed with legislation. I mean,
Yes.
it's legislation brought about those funds through, through the casinos and all that, and that can be changed with appropriate legislation. So anyway,
There is a list of items that are absolutely not allowed for the B fund. And then there's a list of things that are allowed. And as a grant writer, I'm just one of those that I'm going to position it to where it's an eligible category and make them deny me.
Yeah, and Brandy McAvoy, yeah, you're right, but there is a huge distinction between my experience and that. There's one thing to defibrillate people, controlled, and there's another thing with an automatic external defibrillator, whereas you have somebody that, the computer kind of does it for you, and you have somebody that's not necessarily had a lot of medical training, but they have been trained how to use an AED. They can, the key is that they can get that, in place and able to defibrillate somebody if it's needed a whole lot faster than a trained personnel on an ambulance or what have you. So just having that tool there and more people trained, I mean, you don't know, it could be you tomorrow that's saving somebody's life just with this simple thing that there's no excuse for it not to be in every school around. No excuse.
And kudos to the Bossier Parish School Board, who allowed us to start helping with this, with the new mandate supposedly coming out by the governor and him requiring the AED. That's one of the things that the leadership of the school board impressed upon us, what they wanted that AED training included as preparation for this equipment hitting the schools. So, and that's what we're doing. So Bossier Parish School Board is ahead of the game, ahead of the curve, if you will, regarding this, and they're allowing us to be a part of that.
that's good to hear. All right, so we've got a lot on the plate tonight because we got to get Keith in here. So we appreciate y'all coming on and talking about it, and you're welcome back anytime. Give us some updates and let us know if some people, join in to help you. Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
Right.
Thank you.
See y'all later. Well, that was interesting.
That was interesting. Okay, am I supposed to text Keith to come in?
Yeah, you can go ahead and text him. I figure we'll ad lib for a few minutes or whatever while we're getting him in the show because I had him, log out just to conserve bandwidth a little bit and be a little bandwidth conscious.
Okay, you got to stop talking for a second. I got to look. See, sidewalk guy number 2, come in.
Yeah. Yeah, pull one of the guys off that sidewalk. During that, I'll say this while you're texting him, folks. If y'all have not watched or listened to the Two Guys One Sidewalk podcast, especially the episode that they released yesterday, which would have been Monday, the 17th, you need to listen to that because they did an excellent job. And Shane Cheatham, who.
Now, are you just biased because Shane basically said what a lot of people think, believe about David Montgomery?
Didn't I literally say we are biased? I said that earlier. I used that exact word, biased. So anyway, y'all need to check out their podcast and show. Shane really revealed a lot of the behind the scenes stuff that went on with the whole CAO debacle and Tommy and all that. Okay, so we've got Keith. Guest is in the green room. Let's see why he has no audio. Let's see if we can get him on. Let me switch screens. Keith, can you hear us?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
And we can hear you. That's always a good thing.
Good deal. And by the way, Shane and I are not professionals by any means. We just do this out of the goodness of our heart and fun also.
But you look so much more professional than we do.
Yeah, we try.
Yeah. All right.
And, it is 2 fat old guys on the sidewalk, as y'all said last week.
Scruffy.
Hey, don't make fun of us gray-haired old guys. So
that's right.
So here's the thing. Why exactly are we bringing you on our show again tonight? I think it's because maybe you may be dabbling your toes into politics. Is that accurate or not?
I am dabbling my toes in the politics. Very correct. I am running for Bossier Parish Police Jury District 12.
Now, District 12, where is that? So the people that are watching the show, in which they a lot of them probably know who you are, but where exactly? What are the parameters of that district? Just so we know.
It is the South Bossier, south of Rossi Lee, all the neighborhoods: Golden Meadows, Southgate, Sunflower, Plantation Trace, all the neighborhoods south of Rossi Lee and south of Jimmy Davis Highway are in the district, and it goes down 71 to where Cape of Sligo hits 71, and then follows Cape of Sligo back up to basically to Sligo.
Okay, so we know who the folks that you're trying to get their votes. But kind of what we want to know a little more is about you. Now, you talk every now and then. You'll touch on politics, but primarily y'all talk about local sports and you
Right.
highlight what's going on in your local schools and things like that. But when you're running for public office, it's important that the public knows kind of what you believe, so that they know whether or not does this guy or this person's ideals, does that match up or align with what
Right.
I believe? And who is Keith Sutton? What does Keith Sutton believe?
Well, first of all, if anybody saw what happened today at the city council, you know why I'm in. I'm a citizen who just has gotten tired of the politics that go on, and I sat around and I thought to myself, I can sit around and complain about it, or I can step in there and try and see if I can fix it or help fix it. You can sit around and complain all day long, but you got to be willing to get in there and try to fight every now and then. And after what I saw today at the city council, that even made me even more want to get in, because that to me was aggravating me the way that went down this afternoon.
Well, that leads into the obvious question then. Great segue. Where do you stand on term limits? Now, with what's going on at the city council, that's specifically for the term limits for the city council and for the mayor.
Correct.
But running as a potential police juror, as a candidate for District 12, where do you stand on term limits for the police jury, which is a separate issue, but obviously related?
I am very much for term limits. I believe that every so often you have to have new blood come in, new ideas, fresh ideas. When you're in office for 16, 20 years or more, you get stagnant. Things don't get better. You have to kind of change with the times, and I just don't think you should be around in politics that long. You're there to do a service for your community, not a service for yourself.
That's a good point. So, do you have any idea or any thoughts on, how long somebody who's a police juror should be able to remain in office?
I think it's like all of them. It should be 3 terms of 12 years. And to be honest with you, I if I was elected, I would say give me 4 years, and if I haven't done the job, find somebody else in 4 years. Don't keep me around for 12 just to be keeping me around. Make sure I can do the job, and if I can do the job, then vote me in. But don't vote for somebody just because they're already in office. If they do the job right, keep them in there. But after 12, they need to go.
That's one of the arguments, and I don't want to stay on this point too long because we're going to review the city council meeting here in a little while anyway. But one of the arguments against term limits or not in support of term limits is, well, after 4 years, if you don't like the job that somebody's doing, you can just vote them out.
Well, yeah, true, and that also takes sometimes for the citizens to pay attention, which not always happens. A lot of times you see people just vote because the incumbent is on the ballot, and it requires the citizens to pay attention. But yeah, every 4 years, technically they are on a term limit, but you have to get out there and want to have somebody, first of all, go against them. To be honest with you, I don't know if y'all know this, but District 12 has not had an opponent against the Bossier Parish Police Jury candidate since 1991.
Wow.
1991?
1991 was the last time they had somebody run against the sitting juror.
So he's been in office since 91. Am I?
No, not
Okay.
No, he has. He's been in office since 2008.
Okay.
But the person before him got elected in 1991, and then he
Served to
served
2000.
until
Wow.
he might have passed away. I'm not real sure, to be honest with you on
Right.
that. And then they appointed, and then he's run unopposed since 2008.
All right. So who are you? Sorry, Duke, not to cut you off, but who are you running against?
I'm running against Mac Plummer.
Mac Plummer. Okay.
So why? Okay. So today, we'll for example, the Bossier City Council, and it's a good example. And folks watching, we're going to really get into this when we start analyzing the city council meeting and what they did today, which I got to tell you was, in my opinion, basically giving the middle finger to the public. Everybody in Bossier City, they basically said, "Screw you, we know better. Screw you, good old boys for life." But what I got to say is okay, Keith, you're running for Bossier Parish Police Jury. And in a lot of senses, the Bossier Parish Police Jury has that same motto of good old boys and girls for life. And a lot of times what ends up happening is you have an attorney who is telling them, you have to do this or you have to do that, or they're steering the whole thing. I mean, I'm just wondering, is Keith Sutton going to, step up and ask more direct questions and oppose, or just, do you see that as a problem? Do you understand what I'm saying? I guess.
Yeah. I don't have a problem with standing up against somebody. No. So I hate to see. To me, I think people are being taken advantage of. And to me, whenever you have the good old boy system, people are being taken advantage of. The taxpayers and the citizens are being taken advantage of.
So
And
do you think we have a good old boy system here in Bossier?
I think we have a good old boy system in all of politics, to be
Yeah,
honest with you.
but in Bossier specifically, do you believe that we have a problem with the good old boy system?
From what I've seen, I think it's getting, yes, I would say we do. Yeah, and I've talked to a lot of people who say we have a problem with the good old boy system. And the only way you can stop that is by having change every so often, bringing new people in. You can't leave the same people in for, like I said, 20 years. They are eventually going to become part of the good old boy system. If you don't have change every so often, you're going to always have them fall into that line.
So let's change direction just a tad.
Okay.
So what's going to separate you? I assume Mac Plummer's running for re-election. I don't know. I hadn't really paid attention to it. But what separates you from Mac? Why would somebody vote for you over the incumbent?
Well, one thing I think is the people I have talked to, and I've asked them the question, and probably 90% of the people I've talked to have no clue who their police juror is. And they don't even, first of all, I don't even know if they know it exists, because I lived in Golden Meadows for 16 years and I had no clue that the police juror covered Golden Meadows. So nobody knows. Nobody is getting out there and letting people know, hey, you have a police juror that represents, the city, for one, that part of the city. But no, for 16 years, you would think somebody would know who you are. And like I said, the people I've talked to, 90% of them have been like, I don't know who our police juror is. And to me, that's a problem when you don't know who your police juror is after 16 years.
I was just thinking there for a second, dude, kind of a side note. The video I shot of the bridge out there in the middle of the pasture. Is that in District 12? I wonder.
I don't think it is, but I would say I don't know that that's fair for Keith, because he may not have watched Bossier Watch. He may not be up to speed on that. But
Yeah, no, I don't.
A fairer question would be whether or not he's knowledgeable on the Cypress district, and how would he fall on dual office holding?
I would have a problem with it, because from what I understand, that he was elected by the Cypress board, correct? And he was appointed by the police jury.
Correct.
Correct.
He was appointed by the police jury and then basically elected or selected or hired or whatever you want to call it by the Cypress district as the executive director, being paid salary and all that.
Yeah, and I think the easy thing to do that would not reappointing whenever his time came. Which matter of fact, I think that comes up tomorrow at the meeting. So
Yeah, Renee Hall pointed out in the comments that everybody needs to pay attention to your police jury meeting tomorrow, as they're supposed to appoint a new person as the police jury representative. Where that would, cause Robert Berry to, if correct me if I'm wrong, Rex, in the way I'm saying this, but that would place him in violation of the law, because you can't be an employee of the district having been on the board prior, and you've
Or
got a
2
2 year.
years, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
there's a
right,
2-year gap. That's
if you've
statute.
served on the board for 2 years, you cannot hold a position or served if you can't hold a position for 2 years. So
Well, so the question is, and I'm not necessarily presenting this to you, Keith, but the question on that is, how do they get him off of there? I mean, literally, my question is, what are they going to do? Show up with the state police? Is the sheriff's department going to show up? Are they going to? How do you stop them from writing him checks, paychecks?
that I couldn't tell you, because even if you vote him off, you don't reappoint him. That board has the right to hire who they want to hire.
Right.
So I don't, and that board, correct me if I'm wrong, does not answer. They do not answer to the police jury.
No,
So
they don't. Only
I don't know
Robert
if
Berry answers to the police jury.
yeah, I don't think they don't answer to anybody, to be honest with you, that board. They just answer to their individual boards.
Well,
They're
they're
wrong.
they're supposed to answer to the DA's office, but we all know how that goes, and literally how it's gone so far. So, like I said, I don't want to put you in a hypothetical, type situation, but it's just one of those things that I've wondered about. Is okay, so the police jury doesn't
Well,
reappoint him. How actually do they get rid of him?
yeah.
Good question.
Hey, Keith, real quick, I'm going to hit you with a few questions real
Okay.
quick. The basic stuff: Republican, Independent, Democrat.
I am a Republican, and matter of fact, when I first announced I was running, David Womack gave me a call, and that was his first question he asked me, and I told him I'm Republican, probably better off. I'm better term as I'm a Christian conservative.
Well,
So
are you limited government, or are you just are you limited government, conservative, Christian,
I am
Republican? What are you?
I am a limited government, and my stance is I believe that state rights should come first. I'm a state rights guy, and I think the local level should control a lot of things that happen. I hate Washington being in our business, and so
Do
I'm
you
a state rights guy.
Gotcha. And so, do you think that the police jury should be trying to regulate everything across the whole parish, like, water and sewer districts, and be in the business and all that kind of crap? Because I would argue that that has gotten them into a little bit of a pickle up there at the police jury. And, that's not necessarily a limited government approach, although, some people would contend that that is the role and responsibility of government, to build roads, to build water and sewer, the infrastructure, not necessarily picking winners and losers, but making sure that all the things to make a community win. Um, so where do you fall on that? Or have you even considered, you may not have considered that yet. And if you haven't, that's fine too.
I would be honest with you, I hadn't really considered that, but I do believe that the police jury is responsible for infrastructure for sure. I don't believe that we're responsible for telling people their day-to-day business on what they should do and things like that. But infrastructure, that's what government's there for, is to take care of your roads and your bridges and your drainage and your water. So
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. Like I tell people all the time, I'm not for, I'm for limited government or less government, but I'm too lazy to ride a horse. I like to have paved roads to
right,
drive my truck up and down and pull my bass boat. It's simple.
right. And I just want to make sure that our tax dollars are going to the right thing. I mean, for us to have the nice roads and things like that, our tax dollars have to be spent wisely, or we could be back to riding horses, which I wouldn't like that, because my big butt on one wouldn't be fun. So,
So one more quick question.
all right.
So what are the biggest issues you see in District 12 as far as should be or are the police jury's responsibility? What would you consider to be the biggest, couple or handful of issues that need addressing?
Well, one is transparency. I don't think we do a good job of knowing what's going on with the police jury. Like I was talking about earlier, most of the time nobody even knows it exists or what goes on. So transparency, for one, is something we need to work on, and we need to work to find a way to get some more businesses to not only Bossier Parish but South Bossier as well. And there's ways we can do that. We can work with the state and local and federal, and go visit places like Huntsville and see how do they do it. Huntsville is a thriving area, and we have a Barksdale Air Force Base. There's no reason why we can't be thriving ourselves with things like that. So we just need to find ways to get business in here, to keep our kids here, because all of our kids are leaving and going to Texas and things like that as soon as they graduate. So that's, to me, is one of the things we need to find a way to keep businesses here.
Well, and that leads into another question. Do you have any thoughts on specific things that we do to try to keep them here? For instance, the one thing that just occurred to me is, this toll bridge that's been talked about putting in there, that not necessarily under the police jury's purview and may not be in District 12. But what types of things or incentives do we need to try to do to grow the businesses in South Bossier, in that area?
Well, one, if that toll bridge is built, that will be a huge boost to South Bossier, because instead of being a 25-minute drive from the port to go all the way around, it turns into a 5-minute drive to get across there. And once that bridge is right there at the port, that's going to open up Bossier Parish on this side, where you'll have to have gas stations, you'll have to have restaurants, you'll have to have things for all those people at the port to utilize. So using the port is a big thing for South Bossier. I mean, we have a great thing down there that if we can have access to it, we can definitely bring in some business down there.
Well, when I think people start early voting in September, August, September?
I think it's the end of September.
And you are in, did you say District 12 again?
District 12.
District 12, and I'm sure if folks want to hear about it and ask some questions on the old guys on the sidewalk, they can come on your show.
Yeah, they're more than. I tell people all the time, you want to know how I am, come watch our podcast, Two Guys, One Sidewalk. Because kind of like y'all, you don't really hide back when you're on a podcast. You tell the truth, you tell how it is, and people want to see the truth. They can see you when you're on a podcast.
So, well, hey, your compadre, he is a little scruffy, ain't he?
I'm not going to say anything about Shane. He's a nice guy. I like Shane.
I didn't say he wasn't a nice guy. I just said he's a little scruffy.
I can't say anything about anybody being scruffy. If you look at me, I'm not I hate shaving. Duke, I was a fireman myself, so I used to shave every day. And now that I'm not a fireman anymore, I don't have to shave, and I don't like doing it. So,
I get it.
So you probably know how I feel when you had to shave every single day. You get retired. You don't want to have to do that.
You got that right.
All right. Well, we appreciate you coming on, Keith. Great conversation. And look, anytime you want to come back on, if you have something that you want to talk about, you're welcome. And I highly recommend that everybody check out y'all's podcast, because I've watched not all the episodes, but a lot of them. Y'all got some pretty good stuff that y'all talk about.
I appreciate it. And matter of fact, one of the deals with Duke when I agreed to come on the show, that y'all are going to have to come on ours.
Oh, that'll be fun.
Yeah, I figure the four of us sitting around chit-chatting will make for a fun evening.
Yeah, especially we can pick on Shane some more.
That's right.
Yeah. We'll see if we can get his temper flared up.
For letting me come on.
Yeah. All right, well, we appreciate it. Duke, anything else?
That's all I got. Hey, I appreciate it, Keith. You have a good night, my brother.
Thank you. You too.
All right, thank you, Keith.
Bye-bye.
Okay. Hey, we're going through this and doing pretty good. We're almost semi-professional of sorts tonight.
Yeah, we're doing good. We're moving right along.
Yeah.
So where are we going now? Are we going to Bossier City or what? I'm checking off things on the list.
Yeah, I'm kind of randomly doing this. We've got some notes, but the next thing is obviously the term limits. So
everybody
may as well.
Mary Cheatham says, "Watch it, Duke." Hey, like I told Shane, term of endearment, term of endearment. So,
Yes. We like
like
Shane. He's one of the original Three Amigos.
one of the original Migos, always will be one of the original Migos.
Yeah.
So, hey, I know how you are about YouTube videos and content and getting us
Oh,
getting us cut and all
you're
that
gonna get
stuff.
us
Well,
knocked off of Facebook again, aren't you?
I mean, look, so we've got over 100 live viewers right now. Thank you all for watching. But hey,
Yeah.
I got to tell you, Bossier City was the deal today, and a lot of people are fired up. And I can't help but think that it's an old clip out of a famous movie is actually very fitting to what basically was said in Bossier City today.
Yes. All right. So let me see if I can, through the magic of clicking, see if I can get this to show. Hey, that'll actually work out pretty good. This is the same screen that I usually show or replay, so that'll work out pretty good. All right. So here we go. We're going to attempt to get kicked off of Facebook or YouTube or Twitter because of copyright violations and, making the old movie studio guys unhappy, but we'll do it anyway. So set this up, Duke. What happened today?
Well, what happened today is you had some of your 20-year guys in Bossier, by gosh, all you peons, citizens in Bossier City, to the tune of one poll I hear is in the 80, high 80 to low 90 percentile. Y'all can all stick a thumb in your mouth.
Yeah, I
Screw
mean,
you. By
literally,
gosh,
they may as well have flipped everybody off.
all of you out there, you don't understand your place. And I just couldn't get this clip from Cool Hand Luke, I can't get it out of my mind because it's almost as if this is, I'm torn. Is
Well,
this King David? Is this, Jeffrey? Is this
I would say it's
David
all of
Montgomery?
them mashed together at this point.
I mean,
Because
and the city
Jeff,
attorney's thrown right in there with them. So I'm just wondering. I
well,
don't
true,
know.
and Jeff Free is my city councilman actually, and I don't know, he was a little, well, almost obnoxious today. We'll say I thought, but yeah,
Arrogant. I'm
arrogant.
sorry. I know Jeff.
That's a better word
Arrogant.
for it. Yeah,
Arrogant.
much better word.
But okay. Y'all tell me. Is
Is,
this
is this an
representative?
appropriate? Yeah, is this appropriate for the situation at hand? Here we go.
You're on good. Wish you'd stop being so good to me, Captain. Don't you ever talk that way to me. Never! Never! What we've got here is failure to communicate. Some men you just can't reach. So you get what we had here last week, which is the way he wants it. Well, he gets it. And I don't like it any more than you, man.
I think that is highly appropriate, I'll have to say.
I mean, I got to tell you, you got the bosses down there in Bossier City Hall, the bosses looking down on all the people in Bossier City, and they just don't get it. They
just
don't
don't
get
get it,
it
yeah.
that 20 years isn't enough for them. They want as many as they want, and there ain't nothing you can do about it. And by gosh, if you don't like it, we're going to use your tax dollars against you to pay to fight you. It don't
Yeah.
make a crap what you want.
Yeah, you're right. And I don't know. You're right. It's the arrogance. What other words can we think of? Y'all help me out here in the comments. Arrogance, hubris. I don't know. Whatever you want to call it. That the city council show, most of the city council. Let me rephrase that. There were some standout speeches, and look, it might shock you But I've got to give Tommy Chandler a little credit here. I've kind of gotten on this little bit of a Tommy bandwagon, you know, a couple of episodes here and there, but I got to give him credit. Tommy pretty much supported the term limits. Now, granted, there's not that much he can do in the city council because they've cut his nuts out from under him, literally. But he did speak up and say he ran on term limits and he supports them. It's on the record.
Yeah, he did, but we're going to have to cover that. I mean, look, we're holding everybody in suspense. We need to get to the video and get
Let's
rolling.
do it.
And because some folks may be scratching their heads saying, what are these two knuckleheads talking about?
Yeah.
And those listening to the podcast, they may be wondering as much as well. So today, the Bossier City Council, they had a a resolution or a motion or what have you, or an ordinance to pay for, or have the council vote to pay for a outside opinion on the term limits petition issue, which I had a large part in.
Yes, you did. A very large part. And you and Colonel David Crockett, who is in the comments somewhere, y'all did a lot of that. In truth, though, it was supported by the mayor. You know, I think I showed some video clips, and I've got some that we're going to post on the Bossier term limits page. But the mayor did support the term limits. Councilman Chris Smith, Brian Hammonds also supported them, signed it. Robert Mills signed it. Even members of the Democratic Party here in Bossier Parish did sign and at least pledge their support for term limits. So we want to give out a little bit of credit where credit's due. But you and Colonel Crockett there pretty much wore out probably a couple of pairs of shoes gathering those signatures. And guess what? It doesn't matter, Duke, because
that's right.
The city council said tough.
Yeah, because what we have here is failure to communicate. Y'all just don't know your role. That city charter, we will use it when we want to use it, and we'll abuse it when we want to abuse it. It don't matter.
Yes, we will.
And
All right.
the question is where does the mayor and where do some city councilmen fall on that issue? Do they believe we have a charter, or do they believe we don't have a charter? Well, in this council meeting today, you got all your answers, and I don't know. Let's start.
Yeah, so what I'm going to do, we'll just start rolling through this. Here we go.
Resolution to retain outside counsel for legal opinion, first and final reading.
So moved.
Second. First by Councilman Williams, second by Councilman Maggio.
All right, so this is important. Williams and Maggio seconded it. All right. So that's very important. We'll get to the vote here at the end. So we're gonna move on up a few seconds. Well, as a matter of fact, it's coming up in a few seconds. I'm just gonna hit play, and we're gonna hear from one of Sobo's own, Wes Marriott. So we'll listen to what Wes has to say, because I thought the people that spoke did standout jobs, and it's worth playing at least the majority of what they say so y'all can hear it and don't have to sit through the rest of the city council meeting. So here we go. Just stop me if you want to make a point, dude.
Yep.
Questions from the audience? Please state your name and address for the record.
Hello, Wes Marriott, Sobo Live, 4308 Parkway Drive, Bossier City, 71112. Gentlemen of the City Council, Mr. Mayor, fellow citizens, today I stand before you as a concerned citizen, representing the voices of thousands who have spoken out in loud and clear in favor of term limits for the mayor and the City Council of Bossier.
Sorry, dadgummit. Hold on.
Oh,
Hold on, technical glitch. Let me get back to Wes.
got to back up.
Wes
around.
Marriott, Sobo
Yes,
Live,
yep.
4308
Sorry, Wes.
Parkway Drive, Bossier City, 71112. Gentlemen of the City Council, Mr. Mayor, fellow citizens, today I stand before you as a concerned citizen, representing the voices of thousands who have spoken out in loud and clear in favor of term limits for the mayor and the City Council of Bossier City. On July 10th, the Bossier Term Limits Coalition delivered 2,900 signatures from Bossier City voters demanding a change that reflects the true will of the people. Yet instead of embracing this democratic mandate, the City Council is attempting to adopt a resolution that reeks of delay, desperation, and disregard for the people's wishes. This resolution seeks to retain outside counsel for a legal opinion on the matter, further delaying the implementation of term limits and wasting taxpayer dollars. But why the need for such excessive measures when we have a city attorney and the Attorney General of Louisiana whose expertise could provide the answers you're seeking?
All right, so I'm going to pause right there for a second. I couldn't have stated that any better.
I'm telling you, Wes Marriott, Sobo Live guy, hit it out of the park. I mean,
he did.
He is tapping on all cylinders here. I mean, it's as succinct as you could get.
Yeah, good job, Wes. All right, so here we go.
It's clear that this resolution is nothing more than a thinly veiled attempt to undermine the voice of the people and protect the interests of outgoing term-limited city council members. The fact that this resolution even exists raises questions about transparency, accountability, and integrity within this esteemed council. The people have spoken, and they demand term limits to ensure fresh ideas, new perspectives, and a continuous infusion of energy into our beloved city. Yet by pursuing this resolution, you risk tarnishing the democratic process and alienating those who have placed their trust in you to uphold their interests. We need not look further than Chapter 5 of the Bossier City Charter to understand the people's mandate is clear. The language within Section 501 explicitly outlines the process which an ordinance can be submitted to the City Council. There is no ambiguity, no room for doubt. The people have exercised their right to be heard. It's your duty to respect and act upon their will. I urge you, esteemed members of this City Council, to reflect upon the gravity of this moment. The people have spoken, and they deserve a prompt, unbiased, and transparent response to their call for term limits. Do not let this resolution be a stain on your legacy or the legacy of Bossier City. Embrace the will of the people and stand with them in unity as they seek to shape the future of our great city. In conclusion, the people have spoken, and they demand you remember the principles on which our democracy stands: government for the people and by the people. Let Bossier City lead by example, setting a standard for accountability, integrity, and the will of the citizens. The time for term limits is now, and the people of Bossier City demand you vote against this resolution. Thank you.
Well done, sir. So,
Now,
let's stop it there.
I got to tell you, his comments and his words, if they do nothing else, they point out and they enlighten the fact that the decision before all of these individuals sitting on this city council is, do you respect the citizens of Bossier or do you not? Or do you dismiss them?
Right.
And the ultimate vote is that, with the exception of two people, in Councilman Hammonds and Councilman Smith, I'm sorry to tell you all, a lot of you are saying, well, what about Vince? What about Vince?
No, Vince was right in there, thick as thieves amongst the weasels and rats.
The rest of them all dismissed the people in Bossier City. They dismissed the citizens of Bossier, that you have a say. They disregarded your will. They could care less what you think.
Imagine being presented with nearly 3,000. I think Colonel Crockett's had it up in the comments. 2,977 signatures of people that took the time to fill out the forms and sign it. Imagine being presented with those and, we got to kick the can down the curb and hope everybody forgets about this.
But Rex, let me do something else. Let me tell y'all, having had a significant role in this, and Charles Jacobs, I hope you are watching this. By all means, clip this video and you can use it in your supposed litigation to come that you took action on all this council. But it wasn't 2,977 signatures, Rex. No, there were over 3,000, actually to the tune of 3,400 people who live in homes in Bossier City that signed this petition wanting this. Yes, the number got whittled down to 2,977. I don't know what the 3,400 number percentage wise ended up being, but it was higher than the 33%.
But let's take that even further, because the truth is you and the Colonel did the vast majority of the walking. Our good friend Ryan Haygood went and walked. I went like one evening, and helped for a couple hours, but that was basically it.
Robert Wright, he went walking
Robert,
too. Barry Butler, there were
okay,
a lot of the Convention of States guy. He went walking.
right. So, but out of Bossier City as a whole, how much of Bossier do you think y'all actually covered? Just a rough idea. I mean, did you cover all of Bossier City and you only got 3,000 signatures? That's the point I'm trying to make. You only covered a small part of it.
Only covered a small part of it. But I mean, look, remember there was a poll that was done not long ago at the start of term limits. Remember that?
Right.
I'm told that poll in Bossier City was high 80s to low 90s in support of term limits. The term limits petition that these councilmen right here got. So every one of these jackwagons that are fighting, including Vince Maggio, that are trying to obstruct this, go ahead. Okay, I'm jumping ahead because I was going to say something in regards to Mayor Vince Maggio and the likelihood of that.
We'll get to, yeah. Well, let's wait till his comments. I've got some nice, smart ass comments towards that. But anyway, all right. So let's go to the next speaker. So next up, I believe, is our good friend Colonel Crockett. So he should be walking up. Here we go.
David Crockett, 653 Dumaine Drive, Bossier City, Louisiana. Thank you. You carried about half of the weight of those petitions. I think that perception is carried very well in recent articles. The Settle Talks, Sadow's written recent articles. Bossier Term Limits just released a press release on this issue. I want to nug it down to a simple solution. Mr. President, one of the councilmen, he recalls very clearly probably that he basically issued a challenge to David Johnson at the Republican Women of Bossier meeting that if he wanted term limits, there's a way to pass term limits in the charter.
Now, wait a minute.
According to the Louisiana Constitution, Section 5.
Stop it right there. Stop it. Does everybody understand what the good colonel is talking about right there? A lot of people, Rex, I don't think they know what he's talking about.
Well, they may not. And so let's clarify it for them.
Okay. So what the good colonel is talking about, so all of a sudden we supposedly have this question that we need to get, originated by Jacobs, supported by, now I ain't gonna leave him out, Tommy Chandler recommended that we get outside counsel an opinion on legality, right? Because
yeah, if I remember right, on the agenda, it was signed or endorsed or put forward by the mayor. If I remember right, I need to go back and check that.
Recommended by Mayor Tommy Chandler.
Okay.
Recommended
I thought so.
That we get an opinion because it apparently is some question. But what the colonel just said was that at a Republican Women of Bossier meeting, I mean, what he's talking about is there was a question posed to King David, otherwise known as AKA Queen David Montgomery. And it was in regards to term limits. This was before the term limits petition thing ever even got started. And that question was posed to Queen David and said, do you support term limits? Queen David said something to the effect of, I wasn't there, so I'm saying something to the effect of, but there were countless witnesses that were there where he said there is a provision in the charter for how, if you want to enact term limits, for you to do it. And he was talking about exactly what we did.
Well, all right. So educate me or refresh my memory, because back when this charter was enacted, I think I had been not long moved to Bossier and wasn't really paying attention to politics and all that. So for the uneducated voter or Bossier citizen out there.
Wait a minute. Now you just said that all the Bossier citizens are uneducated.
No, I said now I sound like the city council. See, they're rubbing off on me already.
I can't let you beat Bossier City down like that.
No. I said for the uneducated or uninformed Let me rephrase that. The uninformed Bossier. I'm including myself in that. All right.
That don't make it better.
Well, you're right. It might make it worse. Educate us on who was on the city council when all this transpired. Correct me if I'm wrong, wasn't King David himself on the council?
No, when the original
Okay.
charter was wrote, which I think was in the 70s, and I may be wrong on that, but no, I don't think he was on the council. But I will say during the Dement administration, there was an attempt to have a charter commission that it ended up being derailed, and I'm pretty confident that the Queen was on the council at that time. And you know, there's a story behind how that charter commission was derailed, in which we'll tell that story another day. But in the short term, you got to ask the question: how is it and why is it that these guys, and who's in charge of derailing this thing now? 1976. See there, David Jones knows because he was on the council then.
Yeah, probably back in 1976. Hi, David.
Yeah, he was a young aspiring councilman back then.
So
I'm just kidding.
we're just
He was not. He's not that old.
All right. So to be clear, though, to bring folks up to speed that have kind of just started paying attention to this, the city charter, as it is now, maybe with some changes, but has been in effect since 1976. Am I correct in saying that? Whoops, we lost audio. Lost audio, Mr. Lowry. So technical difficulties for just a few minutes. We'll see if we can get him back. Nope, no good yet. Can you hear us? Not if you can hear us.
How about now?
That's much better.
Okay.
All right, so that's okay. Technical difficulties, it happens on a live show. So let's back up. Make sure that I'm correct, and assuming that David is correct, and he probably is, about the city charter. So the current city charter, with maybe some revisions, I don't know, that they've gone through, has been in effect since 1976. Am I correct in saying that?
Yes, you're correct. Okay. And supposedly, the case that is being made by, your city attorney is that the only way to amend the charter is by way of a charter commission, which that's kind of BS. So I would point out, Rex, if you I ain't got the cut. I don't have the cut number.
Uh-oh.
Got to pull it up. Bear with us, folks. This is going to be a little technical, but Charles Jacobs is 161. Standby.
All right. Dude, cue the elevator music.
Cut two.
All right. So give me just a second. I'll get us over there. Let me change screens, hit a couple of buttons. Cut to state constitution. Is that it? Yes.
Yep.
All right. And let me hit publish and live. Okay. There it is.
So we're going to do the work for you a little bit there, Jacobs. In the state, he says that there's a constitutional question as to whether or not, the first part is whether or not the city council or whether or not the charter can be amended in any other way other than, a charter commission. Mm-hmm. Well, right here in the state constitution, if you read it, that's not the case. That's not what it says at all. In fact, right here, the last sentence, it says, because this language does not encompass an amendment to an existing charter, there is no constitutional requirement that a charter commission must be formed in order to amend a post-1974 Home Rule Charter. Now, I think that puts that question to bed, right?
Well, you would think it should, but like Jacobs, informed us all, basically to quote Dalton in Roadhouse, opinions apparently vary quite a bit on legal issues.
Well, apparently to him, this state constitution, former judge, this state constitution, this right here is, I don't know. Maybe he doesn't read it. Maybe he doesn't know there is a state
maybe.
constitution.
Look, I'll just say this. Maybe he's banking on the fact that this will linger in the 26 JDC, and they won't even worry about whether it's truly legal or follows the Constitution until he gets outside of the 26 JDC and he gets all the way up to the state Supreme Court.
Or maybe he is defaulting to the cool hand Luke thing of what we've got here is failure to communicate. Y'all just don't understand how I interpret the law is how the law is going to be. Maybe that's that sounds like the Cypress District, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. And so our good friend David Jones, former city councilman, said, and forgive his spell check, he says, but first commission recommendations failed past the second effort passed with the removal of the hospital, Chapter 13 moving the attorney completely under the mayor. He thinks it went to the ballot in early 2000. So just a little bit of quick history on, some of the charter stuff.
All right. So I think let's probably go ahead and keep going with the video with Colonel Crockett. We'll jump on over and then we'll get to the next parts of what we need a legal opinion for. Or to waste your taxpayer dollars.
And full disclosure, we are not attorneys. We just play attorneys sometimes, kind of, sort of, on Facebook. All right, here we go.
5C, adoption, amendment, or repeal. A home rule charter shall be adopted, amended, or repealed when approved by the majority of the electors voting thereon at an election held for that purpose. In compliance with the Constitution, Section 2101B of the Bossier City Charter, titled Amendments to the City Charter, clearly defines the process for a change to the charter in the Bossier City by a petition of the electors. Section 2101 directs use of a petition in compliance with Section 501. See the petition, 5 signatures per page. I just about needed a back brace to carry it up here. Mr. President, after the electors of Bossier City's petition was signed and certified by the Registrar of Voters on July 10th, Section 2104 directs that you follow Section 501 that if any amendment is proposed by petition of the electors, the council shall submit the same to the electors of the city at a special election to be called no less than 90 days nor more than 120 days after the receipt of the registrar's certificate of sufficiency.
Now,
any interpretation of the Constitution, Section 501.
Now, I want to pause it right there. Shall and 30 days. So, in fairness to all of the council members, they still have time to do the right thing.
Right. They do.
They still have time. The clock's not over with, and the judgment isn't out. But I mean, everybody can read between the lines as to what exactly these guys are doing. They are not at all in any way, shape, form, or fashion wanting to put this to a vote or take a vote, and they're trying to drag it out and prevent it from even getting that vote on the record. They know what the result will be. They're doing anything they can to delay and prevent it from happening. But they still have time. They can call a special meeting, they can vote to adopt it, or they can vote to say, you know what, it needs to go to a ballot of the people.
Right.
But there's another step to this, and I think we need to go to that here in just a second, because I think, the Tommy Chandler is going to have to answer. He's going to have to come full circle on this of where he stands. And the gravity of this is that arguably I think the next mayor's race was just decided today. It was just decided today.
Yeah.
I think it was decided. Everybody has this afterthought that Vince Maggio is going to be the next mayor, right?
I'm not so sure about that.
I don't think that's the case anymore.
Yeah. Probably not. At least not of anybody that's got any political savvy and can do a little video editing.
So
it pretty much speaks for itself, but we'll get to that.
Yep.
All right, so let's continue on with Colonel Crockett.
Section 21 does not change the fact that if you do not pass term limits for whatever reason, legal arguments or other, you must put the electors' propositions on the ballot by the November election to meet the 120-day requirement. If you delay, there will be additional cost to the taxpayers for an out-of-cycle election, and you will violate the city's charter. Debate about whether you can pass term limits by ordinance is not productive. You have a simple path of least resistance that will save Bossier City from wasteful spending, hire an expensive, redundant, outside attorney when we have over 40 years of legal expertise on your staff. Put these two propositions on the November ballot. September 25th is the filing date for propositions. Bossier Term Limits Coalition appreciates the help and especially the sponsorship of the RPEC, the DPEC. We have people from NAACP who are talking to us directly in support of our efforts, the Convention of States who helped us with the petition, and the people of Bossier City. There are 5 signatures on every one of these pages. We feel like that any attempt to obfuscate or obstruct the will of the people will be regretted. Thank you, and I appreciate it, and welcome, and thank you, Mr. President.
Threw down the gauntlet. Y'all gonna regret it.
Additional
Now.
comments from the,
Let's see, who's next? Holly, who watches our show. As a matter of fact, she may be in the comments.
Hi there, I'm Holly Floyd, 1920 Alfred Lane, 71112. I'm here to speak more to the importance of being able to use the voice as our voice as citizens as it pertains to this legal opinion. And I have a daughter who will be 18 on July 22nd. And I've spent the last year taking her all over the country so she could see how other cities work, because I don't want her here. She has no future in the city, not in the career fields that she's interested in. I'm a 4th generation. I left for 20 years. We have not moved forward. It's the same game that it's been for years in this city. And people don't participate because they feel like they don't have a voice. This, right now, is absolutely reassuring people. The people have spoken, you're right, you don't, because we know what's best for you. And it's really, really unfortunate. I could buy a house here, not doing it, absolutely not doing it. I hate to feel that way because this is home for me. But this council, as it's been all the way back, and when I was younger, I had connections on the inside.
I'm gonna
I
pause.
gotta ask a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Does anybody think any of the David Montgomery heard any of this?
Oh, they're not listening.
Does anybody think David Montgomery or even Jeff Free? Because I don't see a difference between Jeff Free and David Montgomery. There's no difference.
Look, but she has got arguably what I consider probably the best quote out of everybody, and everybody did a great job commenting at the meeting. But she's got coming up here in about a minute or two one of the best comments or questions of the whole thing, because she literally addresses what you're asking, Duke.
Okay, let's hear it.
All right, so let's go.
And didn't realize until I got out of this city kind of how that worked. It's still that way. And if we have the same people doing the same things, there will not be change. Like, there's just absolutely not going to be. It's made comfortable for who's here and those few constituents that they listen to. But the general public, when I spoke on the redistricting issue several months ago, my main point was I'm a proponent for at-will representatives, because the one I had prior to my current had no interest in my demographic. Like he wasn't interested unless I had a nice little house over, maybe being built in the preserve. What I said in that meeting was, it doesn't matter who's in that seat if they're not representing the people. If you're not doing your job, it doesn't matter. It absolutely doesn't matter. And to me, one other thing, in my background's hospitality industry, I work from home, so I can work anywhere. There's a lot of people in this city that are that way, and you should be concerned. You should want to retain citizens. You should want to encourage the youth to stay here. But the way everything runs right now in our city, it's a dead end for them, an absolute dead end, unless they're in a family that has a little bit of connection that could move up somewhere and immediately get into something instead of starting at a low level.
He ain't holding back.
The very last thing
this is great, right?
that I
here.
would
Y'all
like to
listen
address
close.
is, in the hospitality industry, There's an old adage that says the handshake of the host determines the taste of the roast. And it sounds silly, but it is how you say what you say is going to color the perspective of the person that you're speaking to. And after watching these meetings, I took off today. I used a vacation day. I had to use 2 already because of SWEPCO. So I'm on my 3rd for this one because it's important to use my voice. Even though when it's all said and done, do I think is it really going to matter? No. I think there's maybe 2, maybe 3 of you that will remember my words, but the rest, this is just another day of business at the council meeting.
Wait.
So the very last thing that I have to say is...
Wait. She
All
said
right.
2, maybe
3. Maybe.
Well, we all know who the 2 are, but
Right.
the 3rd one, who is the 3rd person that might be hearing? Who's the 3rd person that maybe hears Jimmy? Who is the 3rd person?
Maybe the toilet paper guy.
I
Maybe. He's the only holdout. Tommy's listening, but Tommy ain't. He's just a figurehead in this whole deal.
No, she's talking about Phyllis.
Oh, okay. Well,
She's talking about Phyllis. There's only
Phyllis
3
has to
people
take-
there that's hearing them.
Yeah, Phyllis. Literally, it's her job to hear them, to take the minutes and all that.
Because it damn sure ain't anybody other than Brian and Chris Smith.
You're right. Now, what
They
she
ain't
says,
listening.
but what she says coming up is even, in my opinion, better than what she just said. All right, here we go.
Is what maybe there's some legal issue that all of us laymen are missing in the reason that we need this outside opinion. But I haven't seen any of you say, hey, we heard your voices. We saw what you want. So here's what needs to happen and here's why. Instead, it was put at the bottom of an agenda, probably hoping that very many people wouldn't show up and it could just quietly be taken care of and we could lose our voice either now or even in the future towards the next election.
Ollie, if you were holding the mic at that point, you should have just dropped it and walked off. Did you hear what she said? Nobody, not even Chris Smith or Hammonds, and I'm fans of theirs for the most part, and especially on this issue, nobody addressed the fact that they had heard 3,000 of their constituents. Nobody.
They could care less.
That's one of the greatest quotes. I was listening to that earlier before the show and made sure and put a note in there. That's like one of the best quotes ever. Good job, Holly.
Yep. Good job, Holly.
All right. So, now
Robert?
Renee Hall says, I think Jeff Free listens.
Oh, Renee.
Oh, Renee. Yeah.
I think we will show you here in just a minute.
I think Philip Rogers listens as well, Renee. I think he listens closely to all his constituents, even when he's over and has meetings in their house and listens to their concerns. I think he listens and addresses everything that they do. It's about the same thing.
I just gotta laugh.
I couldn't pass up the Philip Rogers segue. I'm sorry.
We got to keep going here.
All right. Sorry, Holly. Had to segue off into police jury stuff for a second. But again, that was one of the greatest quotes ever.
I think the next speaker was Robert Wright, who also did a wonderful job.
Yes, he did. Let's jump up to Robert.
Good afternoon, City Council. My name's Robert Wright. I live at 6307 West Oxbow City in Sobo, which we think is God's country. Why are we needing expensive legal counsel? I know Judge Jacobs over here has been making judgments like this over the years. I think he's well qualified. I know Richard Ray. He is a well qualified attorney. Why are we spending the money for outside counsel? And I don't think this is a very difficult decision. The city charter is very clear about this. It says if you have 1/3 of the voters from the last mayoral election and it's been properly certified, which it has been, then you have 2 choices. Ordinance in 30 days or putting it before the electorate in the next 90 to 20 days. Now, 120 days. Now, I understand there is some legal issue about maybe an ordinance. Fine, put it aside. Send it to the people. They're the ones who make the decision. Is the voice of 1/3 of the electorate not important? Do we not think that 50% of the majority of the voters in this city cannot make a good judgment? I think they can, okay? And when you don't do these things, I think you're thumbing your nose at them. You don't have a voice, you know what we're doing. Oh, we don't need to ask you for that. This is not a hard issue. The charter says it. The state constitution says if we get 50%, we can change the charter. I know there may be an ordinance problem. Set it aside, because if that is a problem, it does not make the rest of it, unconstitutional. I'm saying the right word. Let the people choose. It's simple. Make a choice and let the people make this decision. Mr. President, Council, thank you very much.
That was a great speech too.
Hey,
I mean,
hit it.
so far everybody's walked up there and pitched the ball up and smacked it out of the park.
Smacked it out of the park. I mean, look, the only people that don't want this to happen are those four guys sitting up there behind that council seat that have been up there forever.
Right.
I mean, Ron Hines, Mr. Jeff Freed doesn't even respond to emails. Well, he doesn't have time for that.
He certainly doesn't. And, well, all right, so let's keep going, because after Robert Wright, we get to hear from Mr. Chris Smith. How about that? Former amigo, or I guess he's still maybe one of two amigos if we include Brian as an amigo now, but here's Chris Smith on the issue.
There's questions from the audience. Questions from the council? Mayor?
Real quick, Mr. Mayor. Why are we even voting on this?
Crickets.
Is it? Because we had a legal opinion issued to us 2 weeks ago that we didn't have to vote on, so why are we voting on this opinion?
They don't like this one.
Is that a question for me?
It's for whoever wants to answer, the mayor, the city attorney. We didn't vote on the last legal opinion on ordinance 76 of 2019, so why are we voting on this? Because your office has the ability to seek these opinions. So
and listen closely to
we're not
Jacob's
looking
response.
to delay, then why are we even voting on this? Because we've had this petition for over a week. We could have already gotten this opinion.
Now listen to this word salad.
It's not a secret that there are differing opinions between members of the council and the mayor concerning term limits.
Wait a minute. Stop it. Stop it. Stop it. Stop it. Stop it.
Stop the presses.
Now, what did he just say? What words did he just say?
Well, there are differing legal opinions on things.
No, he said it's not a secret that there are differing opinions.
Right.
He said it's not a secret.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Is that not what he just said?
That's what he said. We can back it up because
to the over 100 people watching, did y'all not just hear that? It's not a secret. Play it again, Rex.
Yeah, play it again, Sam.
It's not a secret that there are differing opinions between members of the council and the mayor concerning term limits.
Okay. It's not a secret. Well, if it's not a secret, Rex, and to the over 100 people watching, if it's not a secret, then why is it that the city attorney would have informed all of the councilmen before debating this issue in front of the public that they were all gagged to talk about the issue or to go in depth on the issue in an open meeting in front of everybody?
Oh, wait a minute.
If it's not a secret.
That's interesting, Duke.
Well, I have a source that's telling me that the city attorney told all the councilmen before the start of this meeting that they couldn't get out there and debate this.
Wait a minute. You're saying this guy told the city councilman basically to shut up and you can't talk about what they've talked about? Was he trying to assert some attorney-client privilege or something? I don't
He
know.
was saying because there would potentially, or there potentially could be litigation, you can't talk about everything out in the public. But yet,
Only a judge can, and he's a former judge. So as an attorney, he might not can talk about it. Maybe there's some, legal, regulation or something that they should talk about it. But as the councilman and the clients, so to speak, of the attorney, they can talk about it all they want.
well, I'm just wondering since if in fact he gagged the councilman to have a debate or to be able to talk about a subject at an open meeting, for the public, did the public get a fair, debate on this issue? Did they get a fair discussion? I mean, is he chilling, the debate by saying, I mean, look, every freaking thing that comes out of somebody's mouth could be potentially litigated. So I'm wondering why we even have council meetings. I'm wondering why we even have any government. Should it just be Charles Jacobs or attorneys? Because look, Charles Jacobs is not the first person that does this. I can promise you, the police jury, Patrick Jackson is doing the exact same thing.
They do it. The heirs team does it. They all do it ad
But-
nauseum.
yeah.
Dadgum lawyers.
So you're not allowing the public, and so for him to say it's not a secret, no, bull crap. It full well is a secret, and you're the lead guy trying to do the secret. You're trying to perform it. You're trying to hide it all. And then here in just a minute, he uses the word transparency. And but you know what, Rex? Here's the thing. Who is enabling him to do that? Shane Cheatham on the Sidewalk Show. Shane Cheatham said that when he met with David Montgomery said, "Are you going to do what I tell you? Are you work for me or do you work for Tommy Chandler?"
Yeah,
I got to tell you.
I'm telling you, folks, y'all need to go listen to that podcast from yesterday. It's very enlightening and entertaining. But keep on, dude.
Well, I got to tell you, who is Jacobs working for? He's obviously not working for Tommy Chandler. He's working for David Montgomery. And sources also say, we just got to keep playing. Let him keep talking. Go ahead.
Okay,
I'm jumping
yeah.
way
Look,
ahead.
if he's digging a hole, let him dig. Okay, here we go.
And I have given the council my opinion, which is privileged at this point, covered by attorney-client privilege.
His
Covered by
opinion is
attorney-client.
privilege, covered by
Right.
attorney-client privilege. This is the public's business, and there's no litigation.
Chris should have stood up, or Brian, or any of the councilmen for that matter. I'm just using them for an example, and said, well, you're the attorney, so maybe you're covered by it, but as the client, I'm not. So I'm going to talk about it. I mean, what's he going to do? Try to get the police department to arrest him for divulging public information?
I've got a question. If he's going to chill the debate because there's the possibility there could be litigation, the fact that we breathe air, that could potentially be litigated. So anything that Charles Jacobs has a whim that could be litigated, therefore he can hide it from the public. That is not transparency. And when he says it's not a secret, that's bullcrap. It's all about a big secret. It's all about trying to hide things. And he's trampling, I would contend, on the public's constitutional rights. He's constant, and that he doesn't give a damn. And
It's a cop out, but the reason they get by with this is because nobody calls them out on it. Nobody challenge. I literally, if I'd have been sitting in that meeting as a city councilman, I would have just divulged the information and said, "Now what are you going to do, Charles? Sue me?"
And for all of y'all that want to know, Vince Maggio is fine with this. Listen to it. In the back. Vince Maggio is fine with trampling on all of this. He's fine with it being in the back door. He's fine with not, following the will of the people of Bossier City. He's right on board. He is no
the best
different.
he comes up with here in a minute is talking about his store. Literally.
That is the best.
Yeah, that's the best he could come up with on the subject of term limits, was talking about his store, but we'll get to that. All right, so here we go. This exchange is pretty good.
And whatever decision the council makes is likely or has the potential to lead to litigation. In order to,
I got to stop right there for a second. Whatever decision the council makes is likely to lead to litigation. If the council would either pass it without veto, or put it to the ballot, put it to the vote of the people, who else is going to litigate it? I mean, it's kind of a rhetorical question, because it would leave only David Montgomery, Darby, Free, Maggio, or Bubba to litigate it.
And what exactly is the potential litigation? And where does he come that it's likely going to lead to litigation? Has he been told that somebody is going to sue or it's going to lead to litigation? I mean, he was saying there's no secrets and talking about transparency.
Is he a soothsayer now? All right, here we go.
Prepare for that, to do your due diligence, as opposed to being stuck in, 4 years of, St. George type litigation. Then it's like getting a second opinion from a doctor. You go to the doctor, one doctor tells you you need shoulder replacement surgery.
This guy
You don't
can't
wanna have
even
surgery,
do law,
so
and
you
now
seek a
he's going to
second
try to
opinion.
tell us about being a doctor.
And you talk to a second doctor that says, well, I think we can fix this problem with physical therapy. In order to hopefully avoid expensive, time-consuming litigation, concerning this issue, then I think a second opinion is prudent. It will cost some money. I mean, but it won't cost nearly what.
You know what he's doing right here? He's trying to use a threat of litigation and as intimidation. He's trying to silence the Bossier Term Limits Coalition. It's a veiled threat. I'm telling you, Duke, I just figured it out. It's a veiled threat that they intend to proactively sue.
Well, I think maybe if that's Jacobs's tack is to, sue or what have you, I got to tell you, I don't think their odds are real good, and we'll show that here in a minute. I mean, I know Charles Jacobs is not one to actually read the state constitution and all, as pointed out here earlier, but we'll help him out a little bit, or we'll try to.
Yeah, bring it, Charles.
We don't charge here. It's open free right here.
Yeah.
Bossier Watch.
What 2.5, 3 years of litigation would cost the city. So therefore, due diligence, making sure all the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed. It doesn't matter whether you're in favor of term limits or against term limits, they still have to be implemented and invoked properly. And in order to, to do that, I think the best course of action, at the present time would be to seek a second opinion from an outside counsel from out of town who's not connected to anybody or anybody in this area.
Whoa,
so
put the brakes on.
An outside, no, so everybody, look, you should feel all warm and fuzzy that Charles Jacobs just told you that, we think that it should be to an outside attorney that's not connected, not associated with anything, blah, 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 blah. Well, I'm just wondering if everybody knew or didn't know that that law firm was one of the law firms in the Link Coleman lawsuit.
Wait, what?
I'm told that firm represented Bossier City in the Link Coleman lawsuit, defending Bossier City, against, the curb cut deal.
Oh, so
I mean,
maybe they're not such a far removed law firm.
no, yeah, they're an unbiased opinion there. Just somebody removed that ain't got no connection to Bossier or whatever, as Charles Jacobs has said. The Link Coleman thing where allegedly David Montgomery, but the case is all sealed, right? Where
Right.
David Montgomery, well, you got to buy insurance or you don't get the curb cut or some crap like that. I ain't heard that, but allegedly that's the
Yeah.
story. I
That
mean,
whole thing that cost the city, what was it, $30 million? I don't know.
60, 30, 60 million. Yeah.
What's a few dozen million between friends?
I mean, look, David needs another 20 years on the council. I mean, the 20 something plus that he's already got. I mean, they just need, as Jacob said, they just need to dot the I's and cross the T's and make sure that King David can't milk Bossier City for another 20 years. I mean,
Well,
got
it's
to
kind
do
of.
it.
I got a couple of phone calls today, and I'm not going to reveal who it was, but he's probably watching, or I'm sure gonna watch the show. Anyway, he called and he was like, well, what specifically do you have against David Montgomery? What has he done that you're so much against? And of course, he's a King David supporter. It claims he's for term limits, but a King David supporter. But that's a whole other conversation.
Well, some people, look, everybody in life has a flaw. Everybody has a flaw.
Sure.
Some people have more than others. But, at the end of the day, some people have morals and some people have ethics and some people, are just good humans. And then there's people who are not. And that's what separates the majority of people. Everybody is flawed, but not everybody are good humans.
Well, that's very true. And I want to point out to our good friend, former amigo Shane Cheatham. Yeah, see, little did you know that when all that Link Coleman debacle was going on, that you guys, that was going to lead up to the moment that you guys were going to have a name for your podcast. How could you know back then? That's what it was all about. You'll have a $60 million podcast.
But there's also a better song out there by George Strait, Where the Sidewalk Ends and the Road Begins.
Okay. Yeah, I'm a big George Strait fan, or at least used to be, still a fan.
So anyway, what else did he
so,
have to say?
Yeah, let's go on through this. So here we go.
Avoid all the regular criticism. Oh, so-and-so's connected to so-and-so, and so-and-so is saying this because of so-and-so. To get to avoid that, to step above the fray, to do your due diligence, and to hopefully save money, on possible future litigation. That is my recommended course of action.
But my question didn't get answered.
That's great. But my question didn't get answered. That's great. All right, here we go.
Because we have differing opinions in this council about Ordinance 76 of 2019, and the mayor disagrees with the majority of the council on Ordinance 76 of 2019, yet we got a legal opinion without voting on it. Why are we voting on this legal opinion?
Because I think there were, and again, I do agree with you, I do have the authority to seek it without a resolution from the council. But again, you've heard a lot of talk about transparency. I think there were some complaints concerning that.
Wow. So Jacobs is all about transparency now.
Transparent Jacobs. You can see right through. He wants everything to be transparent, yet he puts a gag on everybody on the council before this meeting.
Yeah. How transparent is that, Chuck?
Yeah, I don't even know if that's legal or not. I'm sure in some convoluted way it is legal, but Jacobs, that's a bald-faced lie. You're not trying to be transparent at all. You're trying to do the total opposite. You're trying to deceive the public. And you just said, y'all heard him. All of y'all watching, over 100 people, you heard him say, yeah, my office has the authority to just go ahead. Why did you not go ahead and just get it? If you can do it, why did you just not go ahead and do it? That way you could have presented the findings right now.
Right at this meeting, this very meeting.
Right now, yeah. Oh, I know, because it wouldn't serve the purpose of trying to delay the process and drag it out and promote a potential litigation. That's what you're trying to do.
Yep.
I mean, I'm sorry, Charles Jacobs is a fraud. he works for David
All right.
Montgomery.
And I'm sure Weston's got a good comment here that he hadn't fully responded. Jacobs hadn't fully responded to some public records requests. I know we've still got some outstanding public records requests that, what are you going to do? Sue the guy?
Yeah, I mean, he ignores public records requests, finds a way to get out of sharing the information. He calls it. I mean, I know for a fact we've sent stuff that, he could have sent that he just didn't. And yeah.
All right, here we go.
But your mayor picked him to be the city attorney.
I was trying to stay positive with Tommy tonight, Duke.
I know you are, but your mayor also picked a CAO, and because he didn't say, I work for David Montgomery, he didn't get picked. But yet this guy, he did get picked.
Yeah,
David Montgomery did approve him.
literally because he didn't say that. All right, here we go.
I put it in front of the council, in front of the people, so everybody knows what's going on.
And put it in front of the people so you know what's going on. But
it appears to me.
So the people will know what's going on. Well, why don't you put the damn proposition in front of the people?
Yeah,
why even argue about it? Just don't even stand in the way. Just put it out there. Y'all, council, you don't even have to vote on it. Just put it straight to an election for the people. Let them decide. Isn't that who you work for, Jacobs? The people? Or do you work for David? The people or David?
Yeah, we know which way or what the answer to that question is. But here we go. Let's see what Mr. Smith has up his sleeve.
That we could have had this opinion and already been discussing what the future steps should be.
See, I'm going to pause for a second again. I know we keep jerking around here, but at that point I would have said, you know what? I make a motion that we go ahead and put this to a vote of the council to enact the term limits.
Absolutely. I make a motion to amend.
Yeah, and have Brian second it and
force a vote.
Let's show the cards, yeah. But anyway.
Well, we know how the vote would have been.
Yeah, I mean, we know. But still, it's on the record right then and there. All right, here we go.
And so I just can't wrap my mind around why we need to vote on this. So that's it.
All right, this is good. Now, this is Tommy's one good moment.
Are you in favor of continuing to delay this by passing this ordinance today?
During my campaigning for mayor, the office of mayor, I ran for term limits. I believe in term limits. And with all the signatures that were up, that have been brought forward, and all the interest of the citizens, I believe that it should go before the citizens for vote to find out how they want it.
Very good, Tommy. Very well said.
Well, here's the thing. Here's the thing. What you going to do, Tommy? I mean, I think the next mayor's race is right now, right here. It's being decided right here, right now.
Tommy, I'm going to help you out. Let me give you some advice. You need to be using the bully pulpit of the mayor and all those selfies that you like to go take and call a news conference and tell the people what's going on with the term limits and the shenanigans that the Montgomery side of the council is trying to pull. You need to get the people behind you, Tommy.
No. If Tommy wants a second term at mayor, if he wants a second term at mayor right here, this is how you do it, Tommy. This is how you galvanize a second term. Not even Vince Maggio. Vince Maggio is not going to beat you. This is how you do it right here. It's real easy. We ain't even going to charge you for this. Here's what you do. You need to call a press conference and say, I call upon the council to enact term limits by ordinance. And if they don't, I already have the documents wrote calling on a special election for term limits as set forth in the petition to be held within the next 90 days. And as soon as the 30 days is up on the council and they haven't taken any action and they've delayed, you call on the Secretary of State for a special election. You do it. You know what? You're the next mayor of Bossier City again. You're reelected. It's that simple. It's that simple.
I'll be back on the Tommy bandwagon just over that one issue. I don't care what else he does.
Let me say this for those sitting in the back row. Again, a poll in Bossier. 80 to 90% support of this term limit. 80 to 90%. I know Vince Maggio. I know the rest of the councilmen, Montgomery and Free. I know you guys, your ears, you can't hear it. It won't get in the middle there. But 80 to 90%. Tommy, do the math.
Yeah, and so Chris Smith's got a good comment. It says, Rex, unfortunately, you can't legally do that. Can only vote on what was advertised. That's not the point, Chris. You're missing the point. The point is not to have a legal vote up or down either way. The point is to bring it forward and force their hand at trying to shut you down. That's what you've got to understand, Chris. It's not about getting an actual vote on it. It's about making them to be the asses that they really are and making them show their cards. That's the point of this. I'm sure Jeff Free would have absolutely tried to shut you down, but that's what you want him to do because that's when you get in the banner back and forth. The hell with decorum. All right, so that's the point. But I do appreciate what you did right there with Tommy, Chris, and I do appreciate you and Brian standing up for this. So I want to be clear that I fully support y'all in all this.
Anyway,
All right.
keep
yeah,
going.
Yeah, let's keep
Right.
rolling. Here we go. You're right.
At
You're
this
right.
point, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say Ryan Haygood is right. Tommy does struggle. He did really good right there. That sounded pretty prepared to me, but good job, Tommy. But then he struggles in a rebuttal with Chris right here.
Yeah, so the rest of the
not
council,
with Chris, with Jeff Free.
The rest of the council, with the exception of Hammonds, here's where they go to die.
Yeah. All right, here we go.
We do have term limits. Every 4 years, the voters go before and vote for us or against us.
Yes, sir, they do.
That's my opinion.
No, what I was saying
Every 4
is-
years, yeah, I
I'm
understand.
saying for 12 years, sir, 3 terms. And that's.
But every 4 years, we have a term limit. My term is over in 4 years.
That's very true, sir.
I go back before the voters. If I've done a good job, they vote me in. If I don't, they won't. So why go to the expense of all this to start with? Any additional questions?
Yeah, I do.
Why go to the expense to start with this? All you measly citizens that said that you wanted this, why even go to the expense? Why bother? That's what Jeff Free just said.
Yeah, you peasants, go shoo away. But the bull in the china closet does a great job right here. Mr. Hammonds himself. All right, here we go.
My perspective on this, and I'll probably be out on an island by myself, but I'm a good swimmer. It seems to me that the administration is throwing this to the city council for us to be the bad guys up here. I'm for the term limits. I'm for this. We can vote on it right now. I don't care. Yeah, and you're right. Every 4 years we have term limits that somebody can vote us out of office. But there also needs to be a plan in place when that person keeps getting reelected over and over. Again, that there's no need in anybody sitting up here more than 12 years. That's just my thoughts. I think that in
that was great.
In higher government, that the people that have been there in Washington and here and the policery that have been there for that long, you need fresh perspective. You need new eyes.
David Montgomery sitting there like, who, me?
He's like, but how will I appoint my people to all these different boards so they'll write insurance with me? How will I get that done?
Yeah, here we go.
Everything.
Is Hammonds flipping him off?
I just think this is totally wrong, putting this on the agenda, bringing it
telling
to
him
us.
he's number one.
Because no matter what happens here today,
make sure that's
whether 2
great.
of us
I
vote
just
no,
noticed
7
that.
of us vote no, we're still going to be the bad guys on this.
Gotta be a
and it should have
subconscious
never
thing.
come from the administration to us.
Ooh.
And that's all I have to say.
Smack Tommy around a little bit. So he just ran roughshod over Montgomery, flipped Montgomery off subconsciously, and swiped Tommy all in one spill.
I'm telling you, he left no prisoners.
The bull in the china closet is my favorite. He is the man. All right,
Anyway.
here we go.
Well, I've been a citizen in this city for 55 plus years. I've been a councilman for my 3rd term. And I can say from a citizen's perspective, I was very appreciative to the leaders that have been leading on here for 20 plus years. We have a AAA rated fire department. We have a safe city. Our police have done an exceptional job. Our former mayors have done an exceptional job. These guys have run a city with solvent city. We have a first-rated fire, police, water, sewer. I have no complaints with what these guys did, and I appreciate the work that they've done over the 20 years. It's not all glory. They take calls, we take calls 7 days a week, all through the hours. So, and I think are very unappreciative, but as a citizen, guys, I appreciate what you've done for me.
Hammonds is not going to take that. Hold on.
And I love this city, and that's why I serve this city.
Yeah.
I have one more rebuttal then on that. I was not being unappreciative of anybody sitting up here on this council. I was just clearly stating a fact that fresh eyes and fresh ideas are not a bad thing in order to move this city forward. That is my whole explanation on this.
Kick an ass and take a name.
You know, we all should have big shoulders up here. We get beat up in the public, and if we can't sit up here and say to one another what we feel, then that's not what I was saying. Nobody was unappreciative of anybody up here. That's my turn to speak. I know you keep putting your hand up, but I think I've earned that right to sit up here and speak in front of this
agreeing
microphone.
with you. I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm not saying that I was rebutting what you said.
He was saying well, stop. You forgot. You're gagged.
He was saying, how big a boy are you? That's exactly what he was saying in between the lines. All right. Yeah, and Weston brings up a good point. Says, Jeff forgot to mention some of the highest debt per capita, crumbling infrastructure, and a $60 million loss to UO Coleman. It's all about perspective, Wes. It's all about perspective. We have no debt in this city. You just heard him say we're in great shape. All right. Here we go. We're almost through, folks.
President.
Please.
I've been in the city my whole life. We own one of the oldest stores in Bossier, 100 years old. I ran, and I live in District 5, born in District 5, work in District 5. One day, I'm looking out the door. I said, I want to give something back to my city. That's where I ran for office. I seen this council, before these councilmen got there, the mayors was elected in our store. Look at Bossier City today.
Yeah, did you catch that? The mayors were elected in our store.
The elections have happened in Vince's store.
That's interesting. Like I said, he is promoting his store. I guess I can't blame him as a capitalist, but that's an interesting statement for him to make.
Yeah, okay. Well, go ahead.
It's moving here. Safety, clean, schools. That's where I ran to make it better. You know, I fight for my district. I work for my people. You know, every 4 years, it's a new term. If you don't like what I do, vote me out. If I wasn't doing my job good, I would quit. Because I love this city, I love this people. And I love this city with my heart. I wouldn't be up here now if I didn't love it. And these men up here now, I'll tell you, I've been in business all my life. Well, just look at Bossier City and look at the other cities. That's all I got to say.
Well,
and this is my home, and I will fight for it. I would do the right thing for Bossier City.
He literally didn't say one thing about term limits, except if he thought he wasn't doing the right job or good enough job or whatever, he would step down, which I think is complete horseshit.
Yeah, which is horseshit. And Vince, if it's so great, then why are you having to put trash receptacles out down in your district and out of your pocket? Why are you having to do that? Commend you for doing it, but why are you having to do that? A well-run city should be doing it on its own. Why am I having Karen stones in front of my office on Benton Road? I mean, I'm sorry, I hold a different view than you do on Bossier City, because as I'm riding around, I see it crumbling. I see it falling apart. I don't see it, moving in the right direction. I don't think that at all. And as David Crockett points out, either we have the highest debt per capita of any city in the state of Louisiana, or we don't.
The other.
Either that's correct or that's incorrect. And, we're fixing to show, I'm going to show, hey, Rex, did you know there's another federal lawsuit against Bossier City this last week?
Another one? No, I
There's
didn't.
another one. There's another one. If things are so great, how come we keep having all of these things? And to Jeff Free talks about how great things are. I mean, how is it that we keep getting these lawsuits?
Mm.
Why is that happening? If things are going so great, and everything is so perfect, just since we've started this show in the comments, I think I counted 2 different people talked about the emails that they send to councilmen that they don't get a response. Jeff Free says a while ago, oh, we respond to all of them. Obviously, there's
right.
people on this show right now who would disagree with you. Jeff, one of them was to you. Obviously, you've dismissed them. They're one of the people in the city of Bossier that aren't in your hierarchy of respect. I mean, obviously they're not getting you. How is it that people that are below you get you? I'm just curious. Is it
Well,
by the whip and cool hand Luke? Is that how they get you?
look, I'll give you a perfect example. Jeff Free is my city councilman. I've never heard from him. Now, in full disclosure, I've never tried to reach out to him either, but you would think with the popularity of our show and everybody watching and commenting and contacting that he would reach out. I mean, heck, even Councilman at Large Chris Smith reached out to me on some things that we disagreed on and reached out to me via text message proactively to try to get that resolved. And he's a councilman at large. My own city councilman hasn't reached out and said, hey, look, what do you really have against us or against David Montgomery? What is the real problem?
And I want to go back to Vince. I want to go back to Vince because while we've started here on Vince, someone messaged me and they said Vince will run for mayor and he'll win. Well, Vince said I would step down if I'm not doing a good job. Well, I'm wondering, Vince, did you run so that you could support all of those guys sitting up there behind that desk? Or did you run to support the citizens of Bossier City? Which is it? Because right now, what you're saying is that you stand with the people up there behind that desk and not the people of Bossier City. If you're up there and you're not standing with the people and what the people want, you're against the people. You're not out to support them. And if you are supporting these people who are opposing what the will of the citizens of Bossier City is, you know what? You're standing against the people too. You're a part of that.
I agree. Look, and I don't want to get off onto SWEPCO because, we'll be here till midnight really tonight because we're going long on this. But I'll say this. One of the reasons I wanted to talk about SWEPCO tonight was that both Councilman Chris Smith and Brian Hammonds have been sharing posts and updates as best they can over the power situation over the last few days, even when the weather hasn't been bad. And that's generated a lot of responses. I've reshared that on Bossier Watch, and people have been commenting on that. But I want to give them credit that they are proactively trying to do their best to stay in touch with their constituents and some even people that aren't their direct constituents. All right. Let's where are we at here with this? We're at 109. Let me see. I think Vince was about done. Let me hit play and let's see where we are. I think they go into the actual vote here in just a few seconds.
And these people up here, I got to take my hat off to them. All those years in my store, about this, about that. Look what they did for our city. Number one place to live. Safe, pretty. We're making it clean. It's hard. We can't do it by ourselves. We get beat up every day, but we still do it. And that's why I'm going to fight for my city and my people. Thank you.
Okay. Clean.
Can I call the question?
It's clean because he's doing personally what the city should be doing. He's having to pay out of his pocket. And safe. Okay, well, you know what? Maybe safe for some, maybe not so safe for others. And to my police officer friends that are watching, I'm sorry, I got to call it like it is, but we just had a big deal with our Bossier City Police Department. The guys that are there, the rank and file, do a good job, but Rex, let's see here. Let me get my screen up. I got my screen shared.
All right, let me see if I can share your screen. Let me hit that and hit that. And the only problem is it may not show the whole thing. Hold on, let me get it adjusted and then I'll switch screens. Well, let me do this and do this. Okay, so see if, why is it not letting me? It's not playing nicely, Duke.
Okay, well, it's the file is in the folder, so pull it up.
Okay.
Cut one Matthews.
Yeah, let me do that. Let me go that way, go this way, hit this button, cut one Matthews. Okay, here we go.
So I want to point to everybody, you Jacobs, and you had Free and you had Vince there talking about safety and how great things are and patting on the back and all this. We don't have no need for term limits. Things are all hunky dory, blah, 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 blah. But especially Jacobs. Now look, Randy Matthews, I'm no friend of Randy Matthews. In fact, Rex, I'm going to disclose something to all of y'all. At a fireman party, probably 30 years ago, I got in a fist fight with the guy. Literally, we got in a fist fight. I mean,
Surely not. Surely you wouldn't.
Yeah, and I'm not saying, but I got to tell you, a few days or here, 7/7. I mean, this lawsuit was filed, and you see who's named: City of Bossier City, Robbie Gilbert, and Danny Turner. I know Robbie Gilbert. I don't know Danny Turner. Know who the City of Bossier is, and it's filed in federal court. Now, why is it filed in federal court? Because it's alleged that the City of Bossier trampling all over constitutional rights. Well, let's say, what constitutional rights could possibly be being alleged to be trampled on? So you're going to have to scroll down this thing, and I guess let's go to 5, 6, 7, 8. Let's go to line 8, I think. Yeah, scroll down. Scroll down. Keep scrolling to the bullet point number 8.
Oh, okay. The bullet point number 8. There?
Yeah. So in here, they name Bossier City, Robbie Gilbert, and Lewis Turner in the suit, and says there are other individual defendants who are expected to be named and added defendants when their respective identities and conduct are identified in discovery. They already know, because I've already had a source tell me, and I'm going to tell y'all here in just a minute what kind of they're talking about here, the names that they're speaking of. So number 9, this one is the most important. Number 9, a conspiracy existed and exists among the defendants to target, harass, and cause harm to plaintiff because of who he is in the community while the defendants act under color of official right.
Let me roll up here so we can go through this.
So wait a minute. You've got somebody alleging a conspiracy, among defendants to target, harass, and cause harm to a citizen, not a citizen of Bossier, but Bossier Parish, or somebody in the community. And Randy Matthews, retired fireman. His daddy was a retired policeman from Bossier City, but he's alleged a conspiracy here. Number 10, upon information and belief, the defendants prefer to violate the rights of individuals who are among the most vulnerable in society, individuals who have prior convictions and are of high profile in the community. Targeting, he's alleging that they target people who are high profile in the community and or people who have prior conviction and are low-hanging fruit, easy to target to whatever. That's an accusation. Number 11, it is the custom, pattern, or practice of the defendants to violate an individual's rights in the manner set forth herein because they wear a gun and a badge. Talking about using, I don't think this is the case for everybody. I don't think it at all. And I'm not wanting to focus all on that. But my source says that this individual was gone after, even after, it was known that he was not in the wrong here. And he was booked, taken into the city jail, and somebody, call it the hand of God or somebody from upstairs. Now, a source says to me that came from the city attorney's office to put the finger on this guy, which was to violate his constitutional rights, allegedly knowing that he was innocent here.
So,
and he's filed a lawsuit basically spelling this out. And what I'm told, it may be right, it may not be right, but what I'm told back up there, it was talking about identities and people that would be identified. What I was told is that's Charles Jacobs.
Oh, hello.
That, I don't know if that's true or not, but that's what I was told. So my point is, if this is accurate, what does anybody believe that if he's transparent and wanting to make sure that we're following the law, and you really think he's going to get an outside attorney from supposedly somewhere else to give a fair and impartial ruling on term limits as it applies to no wonder the freaking charter seems clear and he can't read it and understand it.
Well, the system is rigged. Period. It's what we started this show about, and it's not really changed. Whether we talk about the city council, the city attorneys, whether we're talking about certain churches and politicians or the police jury or whatever, it's the good old boys network. That term encompasses what goes on that everybody knows happens and everybody talks about, but nobody wants to talk about it publicly. It's literally why we started this show.
Okay. Number 13. The municipal defendant knew about the deprivation of individual rights by the individual defendants or should have known about it through their attorneys.
Well,
So,
excuse me.
I got to tell you.
I don't even know what to say yet.
Yeah. So, we're okay. Let's go to, there's a link in the notes, Rex. Let's come back. We'll get off of this, but I wanted to show everybody this, that, look, Jacobs is eating this up. You've got somebody alleging in a lawsuit, a federal lawsuit, about constitutional rights, the targeting, I would say. What about Red Rover? Remember the guy out there?
Yeah.
Remember about that?
Oh, that's right. Not far up the road from my house.
And you got these councilmen saying things are great. Well, you know what, Jeffrey, Vince Maggio, yeah, and things may be great for you and for your buddies, but for a lot of people in this city, things are not great. There's a lot of people who are on the other end of this thing, and I would contend that a lot of those people are the 3,000 or the 33% that sent you this petition wanting to make a change, and the number is far greater than that, and you're basically flipping them all the middle finger. You're giving them all the middle finger. And oh, by the way, if you got that link ready, Rex.
Yeah. Is that the one to the ex post facto?
Yeah. So, credit to the Colonel and Robert Wright on this deal here. But so the other argument, we've already contended with the argument of whether or not a charter commission is the only way to change or amend a charter, in which we showed the state constitution clip earlier. But let's go to another part of this. So the other contention is Jacobs is wanting to get an opinion on whether it's legal or not to do something that would affect people in the past. And the legal term, I'm no lawyer, obviously not, but is the legal terminology is the ex post facto. That kind of means going backwards or after. So here's the deal. Jacobs may not realize this. He probably didn't get this in his law school out there in Cotton Valley. But there's been a Supreme Court ruling on this. And you know what the Supreme Court figured out and decided? That
Drum roll, please.
Ex post facto law was only, in criminal stuff. It didn't apply to like the regular civil stuff.
Right.
Now, again, I'm no lawyer, and that's what I'm being told right here. And this was the constitutional, the Supreme Court ruled on it. I'm wondering what else there is here. I wish Charles Jacobs would come on this show. I wish Charles would come on the show. What do you think?
Give us legal advice, Charles. I mean, you're already being paid by the taxpayers. Come on. We need some legal advice. We need help.
Yeah, we need some help. We're trying to help him, but, he won't help us.
We may need somebody to be involved in a lawsuit against some city councilman. Oh, wait a minute. We can't do that.
Well, he's already gagged everybody because of potential litigation or the possibility of actually, Jacobs, you're forcing it to be litigated. You're trying to do it on purpose. You're trying to drag it out. And Tommy Chandler, you're allowing Jacobs to force this. So it begs the question, Rex. Tommy Chandler said on the video that he's in favor of term limits. He's in favor of doing what the will of the people is. Well, you know what? He's going to get his opportunity to decide if he's truly a supporter and truly wanting to do the will of the people, or he's not, because this is coming and he ain't going to be able to avoid it because David Montgomery and all them, they're not going to support it. They're not going to push it forward. So it's going to come down to Tommy Chandler on his own pushing the measure forward.
Well, like I said earlier, we need to find us a good attorney that'll take this on a pro bono case and just go on and take them to court. Just get it over with. That's where it's headed. I mean, what are we going to do? Go down there with pitchforks and torches? I mean, that's literally what it would take.
I don't know. Well, what else do we got?
Right. Well, the only other thing I wanted, but it's already 9:25 and I'm fixing to go eat supper. So I was going to talk about the SWEPCO situation. I'll mention it briefly. Talked about it a few minutes ago. Look, I don't know what the solution is. I know that in a lot of municipalities, they're, burying the lines, and that has its advantages. It does have some disadvantages. There are plenty of neighborhoods around here where the lines are buried, but what everybody has to remember, and I'm not defending SWEPCO at all, but what everybody has to remember, you're only as strong as the weakest link. And so your neighborhood may have buried lines, but down the line, those transmission lines have trees around them and are exposed and subject to wind. I'll say this, I don't think SWEPCO, and I'm no expert in it, and many of the power companies in the U.S. have done enough to upgrade the grid. I mean, this is no secret that one of the places we're very vulnerable to a terrorist attack or whatever is through the power grid. I mean, it's no big secret. And I think we're seeing this. I'll say this. Remember when Hurricane Katrina and then what was it, a week or 2 weeks later, whatever it was, Rita came through, or was it vice versa? I always forget. During Hurricane Rita, when the hurricane hit up here, which I think by that time it was tropical storm force, winds or whatever it was. But anyway, it was like 60, 70, 80 mile an hour gusts. I went to Captain D's to get dinner. I was literally watching signs blow across the road. But I had no trouble driving to Captain D's, going through all the red lights. They were working, and there were some power outages, but it was spotty. Now, I don't know what's happened between now, or between then and now in Bossier City, where it seems like if we get any kind of breeze outside, rain or not, the power's going out to a bunch of people. So I don't know what the issue is, other than maybe the grid's just being taxed too much, not literal taxation. I mean taxed as in more people and more homes. I don't know.
Look, I'm going to throw my 2 cents in here. I don't think that it's that. I don't think it's that at all. I mean, the system for the most part is the same as what it has been with the polls. Most of that hasn't changed. But I think it's a combination of us having two, high wind events back to back, the first being the worst. I think that a lot of patches were made, believe it or not, and people may find this hard to believe. I think that the electrical companies, they come in, they make quick patches just
Yeah,
to
to get
get,
it back get it back up and going.
and then, they've got to come back around, slowly over time, fix the patches and, shore things up. But then we get a second blast, maybe not as strong as the previous one, but it hits the patches and things aren't going to be as strong as they would if they had a permanent fix in the first place. I think that's the case. I'm not saying it is, but I think that's the case because I've seen that. I've seen it before.
Right.
You know,
Look, that may be the case. So I don't know what, the fix is. Neither you or I are experts on the power grid by any stretch of the means. But I just know that it seems to be a problem that is occurring more and more. And we do see all the comments, and watch the social media posts on the folks that are without power. I've been fortunate. Ours went out Sunday for about 30, 45 minutes, came back, went out again, but fortunately it came back. So I've been real lucky on from that perspective for the past few days. But it's hot outside, and with no air conditioning, we're all conditioned to the air conditioning now.
yeah, no doubt. Hey, so Rex, I mean, while Bossier City is doing their best, to good old boy the citizens of Bossier City, um, yeah, Ruth Pope Johnson, dude, yesterday we lost power for 1.5 hours. We had no wind, no storm, and no rain. Don't know. Don't
And to go
know.
to solar. Solar is looking better and better.
Oh, good grief. You're going to have the port all fired up.
Solar
Just,
and lithium batteries.
just stop it. Just stop it.
Yeah.
So, hey, Rex, while Bossier City's doing crazy stuff, word is that the police jury is back up to some stuff again. Or either, well, let me say this. Maybe not the police jury, the Benton courthouse.
Oh, really?
Got to say it that way. I hear sources from the courthouse tell me that there was a secret meeting Friday.
Secret meetings. Very
Right.
intriguing.
Some kind of secret meeting went on Friday up at the courthouse, determining the future and fate of some Bossier Parish folks.
Well, that could be very interesting, and it may tie into some malfeasance in office.
Malfeasance in office? What are you talking about? I ain't heard that one.
Well, somebody commented, and I was trying my level best to find the comment. I couldn't do it before the show, but somebody commented that one of the police jurors who, let's just say, went off on a tangent at a local Cypress District meeting was being, and I don't know this for a fact, so this is only from that post, is being investigated for malfeasance or potential malfeasance in office for things that were said at that Cypress District meeting.
Well,
now, I don't know because I've tried to say, hey, give me some backup, give me some source for that. So absolutely may not be true, but maybe some, maybe it might be looked into. And that would be interesting because without you and I there to video those meetings, it would only be the audio and the minutes from the Cypress District, and that's piss poor at best.
Well, I don't know. Did we report in the previous show about the resignation on the Cypress board?
No, I don't think we did. I would have been singing to the high heavens.
Well, I'm talking about the chairman.
Oh. Not the executive director of the park.
No.
We're talking about Walt Bigby himself, whose dad is getting a $300,000 monument.
Yeah, that guy. Did we report that? I don't know that. See,
I don't think we mentioned it because we had heard it, but didn't have a firm confirmation.
Well, and I don't know that we still have a firm confirmation, but allegedly sources say that Walt Bigby resigned from the Cypress District. Well, if he in fact did, that would explain why they canceled the last meeting. And it would explain potentially this malfeasance thing on, Philip Rogers maybe that was the attack of people wanted to go after Philip Rogers for stepping out of line and saying what needed to be said finally, you know.
Well, and that may be the case, but I think he may have said a few things he probably, in hindsight, shouldn't have said. I agree with a whole lot of what he said. Don't get me wrong. David Crockett says, what time is his police jury meeting? I think it starts around 2. They do stream it on Facebook, although it's kind of sketchy. I'm not going to record it. I doubt I'll have time to go to the police jury meeting, but I usually try to at least watch the live stream later. So.
Yeah, so you know, there's also word that allegedly Butch Ford has retired.
Wait, what?
I'm
As parish administrator?
I'm just telling you that he went
Or
ahead
one
and
of his
retired.
many engineering positions that he put in the documented letter that was filed with the clerk of court's office when he was trying to prove that he actually lived in the house. That if he does, needs a housekeeper.
Well, maybe that is, or a new taxidermist, maybe that was also a part of the big secret meeting on Friday. But if it is, what I want to know is are they going to advertise to the public for anybody to apply for that job? Or are they just going to rubber stamp, you know, somebody else into the position? And if they're going to do that, I wonder if they'll even take the time to check to see whether they're qualified or not.
Who knows with our local benevolent overlords. Our good friend Jeff Saddle brings up a good point. So that means Bigby is only on like 4 government bodies now? Where does he have where does he find the time, Jeff? We can barely find time to do 1 show a week, much less be on like a cajillion government boards and bodies, and I don't know. Anyway. All right, Mr. Lowry. I hate to say it, but I'm going to find some supper. I had a sandwich for lunch, and I am yet to eat dinner, and I am starving, and I want to congratulate we're down to about 90 people now, but we were bumping 100 at 2.5 hours. That's impressive, folks. We thank you.
It is. Yeah, a hat tip to all of y'all that's hanging in there. And hey, look, we're putting out there what's going on. Hopefully we're presenting it in a form that is palatable for you. And, you know, don't keep it to yourself. You know, we need
share it out.
Share it and inform our
Text
citizens.
people. Look, and I'll say it again. I sound like a cheerleader for them tonight, but go visit the other podcasts and the other shows, because the more content that's out there, the better off we all are. It's not like Duke and I think we have a monopoly on all this or anything whatsoever. We want more voices out there. So y'all go visit everybody's.
I wish there was a lot of other people that was doing all of this. I wish they were. That way we wouldn't. I got tons of stuff to do. I mean, I promise you I do.
We could take a break after 160 shows. That's a lot of hours, dude. That's, you know, by the time we go back and add up all the hours, we've got, I don't know, easy 1,000 hours or more in all this. I don't even know. It's hard to fathom.
It is.
Anyway,
All right.
It's
Thanks,
been fun.
everybody. Thank you.
Appreciate
Rex.
y'all
Good
watching.
night.
All right. See ya.